everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another amazing, incredible episode of the Arcane Archive presents MetaTalks. Just as a heads up, a little bit of a disclaimer off the top. If you haven't noticed, me and Sammy both are feeling just a little bit under the weather currently. It's quite a coincidence that we're both kind of on there at the moment. So you have to excuse if we kind of sound a little bit, more congested or
a little
whatever.
worse for wear.
Yeah, just a little bit. We've both been kind of going through quite a bit lately. Nothing too bad or anything, just, ups and downs here or there and whatnot. So we're probably just going to be, I've got, a big old thing of tea right here that I'm going to be kind of sipping down throughout. So I'll probably be like kind of muting myself periodically if necessary. But yeah, just really quick off the top, I also just kind of wanted to say, if you guys are tuning in, you guys are liking what we're doing here, please be sure to, like the video, comment at all if you would like about any questions or ideas or things that you guys maybe want to hear us talk about. And if you could share the show, share the channel, share the videos, we'd appreciate that so much. It would help to really kind of get us out there more and start kind of accruing kind of more of an audience and really allowing people to tune in if they would like to have a good time just chilling with us. We appreciate that so much. Any and all support that you guys can offer, we'd love it and appreciate it so very much. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and get right into this. Today, what are we gonna talk about today, Sammy?
Oh, we're tuning back into subclasses.
That's right.
Kind of going over some specific ones that both of us like. We kind of pick a couple, and then we also usually talk about one that maybe needs some TLC or just doesn't really work.
A little tweaking, and if not,
yeah.
we'll just unabashedly shame and shit on it.
That's true.
For like an hour or so until we get tired, until we feel like it's had enough. But yeah, y'all, we're heading back to another subclass discussion, as we like to say. Samuel, if you'd like to go ahead and tell the people your pick for today's subclass discussion, one particular subclass that is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, this is one that I still haven't had the chance to play, but I love it very much.
But I have.
Yeah, which is the Artificer subclass Armourer. Now, when I first played Artificer, Armourer didn't exist yet, so I played Battlesmith because I liked what it was better to me than Artillerist or Alchemist.
Yeah, Battlesmith's still cool.
But then they came out with Armor, and I was like, oh, this is what I actually wanted. It's ostensibly fantasy Iron Man, in the best way. Straight
up, it is straight just fantasy Arcane Iron Man, and in the best of ways. Amazing. I love this subclass.
Just for context, those of you who haven't messed around with Artificer, really looked at it, think of it as a steampunk wizard, kind of. I like to look at it as, instead of focusing on magic spells, they focus on the production and use of magic items. Obviously, they are still spellcasters, although they are half casters as opposed to full. But each one of the subclasses kind of specializes in something. The Armorer is an interesting one, because it specializes in ostensibly a magical set of armor that is unique to them. It's cool because it's like, it doesn't count towards things like your attunement and stuff like that, but I'll go over what they kind of get per level. At level 3, they get Tools of the Trade, which is you gain proficiency with heavy armor, and you gain proficiency with smith's tools. If you already have this proficiency, you gain a second one with something else. But heavy armor is kind of the key there. Artificers don't usually start with heavy armor proficiency. It's usually medium.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be armored. These are not, your robe wearing.
I mean, hence the name Armorer.
Yeah, but all of them, like Artificers in general, are definitely.
That's true too. I mean, they're all, they are very gadget heavy, right? This is your literal like Batman or Iron Man kind of class.
I look at Bard. I look at a Artificer to Wizard like I look at Bard to Sorcerer, where they have the same class or the same stat
modifier, intelligence,
but like Sorcerers don't wear armor really. Bards can wear light or medium. So that's the difference here. It's like Yeah, wizards aren't going to wear armor. This guy should.
Yeah, should and would, because obviously you also are, you are the magic item maker too in
Yeah.
a lot of ways.
You're
So
definitely, you're a little bit tankier than a normal spellcaster, but you are by no means tanky. Until maybe
can
later
be.
on.
Yeah,
But
you can be depending on how you build it.
the armor gets some spells. At 3rd level, Magic Missile Thunderwave. 5th level, Mirror Image and Shatter. 9th level, Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolt. 13th level is Fire Shield and Greater Invisibility, and 17th level is Pass Wall and Wall of Force. And then also at 3rd level, they get Arcane Armor. Your metallurgical pursuits have led you to making an armor a conduit for your magic. As an action, you can turn a suit of armor you are wearing into arcane armor, provided you have smith's tools in hand.
Yep.
You gain the following benefits while wearing this armor. If the armor normally has a strength requirement, the arcane armor lacks this requirement for you. You can use the arcane armor as a spell casting focus for your artificer spells, which is crazy.
It's awesome.
The armor attaches to you and can't be removed against your will.
Nope.
It also expands to cover your entire body, although you can retract and deploy the helmet as a bonus action. The armor replaces any missing limbs, functioning identically to the limb it replaced. You can don or doff the armor as an action. The armor continues to be arcane armor until you don another suit of armor or you die. Still at 3rd level, because they are still
you know what's even crazier about that crap is like literally you can make any suit of armor you're wearing
anything
arcane armor. It's not limited to like non-magical armor.
No, you can go find crazy armor.
You can find you can find literally like like armor of like the obsidian dragon plate armor and turn it into your arcane armor. It's stupid good. It's ridiculous how cool this ability is.
And this ties into the artificer itself because you can make magic items.
Yeah, you can replicate magic items.
You
should. I mean, in my opinion, I would also just be like, you can just make magic.
There's rules for it.
If you can replicate it, that's the thing. The rules for crafting in just D&D 50 for anything are just universally pretty horrendous. And so you might have to do a little bit of homebrew tweaking and maybe a little bit of just side skirting to keep the flow of the game running smoothly while still allowing this aspect of the artificer to shine forth.
But rules is written without having to craft anything. You can go buy a set of plate armor.
Yep.
You can come home with your set of plate armor, use one of your artificer infusions over a long rate. Well, yeah, to then turn it into a magic item. And then part of that long rest as well, now turn that magic item into your arcane armor.
Yep.
So you can turn yourself into a walking tank, which is great. And then after that, you get to choose your model for your armor. You can customize your arcane armor. When you do so, choose one of the following armor models, Guardian or Infiltrator. The model you choose gives you special benefits while you wear it. Each model includes a special weapon. When you attack with that weapon, you can add your intelligence modifier instead of strength or dexterity to the attack and damage rolls. You can change the armor's model whenever you finish a short or long rest, provided you have smith's tools in hand. Guardian, you design your armor to be in the front line of conflict as the following features. Thunder Gauntlets. Each of the armor's gauntlets counts as a simple melee weapon while you aren't holding anything in it and deals 1d8 thunder damage on hit. A creature hit by the gauntlet has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you until the start of your next turn, as the armor magically emits a distracting pulse when the creature attacks someone else. Defensive Field. As a bonus action, you can gain temporary hit points equal to your level in this class, replacing any temporary hit points you already have. You lose these temporary hit points if you doff the armor. You can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Now, this is vaguely similar to the Warforged armor models, kind of in a way.
A little bit. I'm sure. Well, because there is obviously a clear kind of similarity overall. Like with like, for instance, Warforged have the innate ability they can like meld armor into them, right? That is how like a Warforged is able to increase its AC or wear armor, even though like its body literally itself is armor. It has the ability to almost like assimilate armor into itself to make itself more bulky and tanky, which is a similar kind of thing that the Artificer Armorer can do with the arcane armor.
And then the second type of armor is Infiltrator.
Yep.
You customize your armor for subtle undertakings. It has the following features. Lightning Launcher. A gem-like node appears on one of your armored fists or on the chest your choice. It counts as a simple range weapon with a normal range of 90 feet and a long range of 300 feet. It deals 1d6 lightning damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature, you can deal an extra 1d6 lightning damage to that target. Your walking speed increases by 5 feet, and you have advantage on stealth checks. If the armor normally imposes disadvantage on such checks, the advantage and disadvantage cancel each other as normal.
So
that's huge.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Like, obviously, as you can easily surmise from this, like, Guardian is going to be your rough and tumble, you know, brawler, like we're getting into the thick of things kind of, you know, model. Whereas the Infiltrator, obviously, it's stealth, subterfuge, you know, as the name would indicate, infiltration, all that stuff, which is dope. And the thing being is that, again, you can switch these armor models over the course of a long or short rest.
But here's the cool thing. It doesn't matter what armor you go out and grab. You could go grab plate armor and make it into infiltrator armor, and now you don't have to do the strength requirement for plate. And you walk faster. And you don't have disadvantage on stealth checks. It's huge.
It's a straight roll. Well, again, here's the thing: if you for instance, if you got mithril plate armor, you would then get advantage on stealth checks, because any mithril armor, regardless of its weight and type, it automatically doesn't get disadvantage, meaning that you would then gain the benefits of the advantage itself for your dampening field. So like that would be even better. And then point being, as we said, you get armor that has like all these crazy bonuses and stuff. You can make that your arcane armor. It also then functions as your arcane focus for any of your spells. It then, like, we're gonna get into it a little bit down the line too, because again, I've played this class and it is so much fun. It is so cool. Like, I came up with a really cool idea and build for it. I will say, between the Guardian and the Infiltrator, like, which kind of like armor design is maybe objectively better, it would probably be the Guardian. Like the Guardian, what you get for it is kind of just objectively better and more, I should say, maybe not objectively better, but it's more objectively better in the sense of its range, right? The Guardian armor, you're probably going to be able to apply it in much more situations than the Infiltrator armor would really be applicable or helpful to you. Like, again, if you guys know that you're trying to, like, you know, infiltrate a place quietly or something, then like that's fine and great. But again, I would also just, you know, submit, for instance, like I just said, if you get mithril armor, then you already wouldn't have disadvantage on stealth checks to begin with, as well as the fact that, like, you know, the special, like, weapon that you get, the lightning launcher, it's pretty cool. It is. Like, the range of 90 and then the long range of 300, like that's pretty crazy. That is one of the farthest, just like non-augmented, like, ranges you get from an attack, which is awesome. And then, like, when you hit it, you deal an additional lightning damage to it as well. It's a D6, so it's nothing to, not like huge, but also not nothing to sneeze at. But I mean, again, compared to the Guardian and its Thunder Gauntlets, as well as its like defensive field ability, like, that's also just going to be the thing that increases your survivability, but then also allows you to be almost a makeshift tank for your party, right? As an armorer, that is kind of going to be your bread and butter in a lot of ways, where it's like, hey, you probably already have somebody else who might be a better stealth/infiltrator person. So your infiltrator armor might not be nearly as necessary or as helpful overall to your party as the Guardian armor probably would be. Like, because it's, again, your Thunder Gauntlets, and you can use either strength, or even better, you can use your intelligence to attack with them. I think you're muted, Sammy.
I keep blowing my nose. I don't want to be gross.
I know, no, me too. I keep muting it as well. Yeah.
All of the special armor attacks are intelligence if you want them to be.
Yeah.
Which is huge, because albeit, yes, maybe you'll want to have some stats higher, like maybe you want some dex as an artificer. I usually
would say con would be great.
Con is the best one, but
you know, for health as well as concentration is a big part.
But you get to use your intelligence. It's one of those things where now I don't have to spread my stats out as much. Obviously, you are going to be less good at certain things, like certain saves, but there's ways to get around that with magic items and stuff like
Oh,
that.
there will be too as you get higher up in the levels. But obviously that would be farther,
Yeah.
way far down the line.
But let's get into the next couple of things. Fifth level, you get extra attack, which is awesome. We love that.
Yep.
You're basically like a paladin. You get 2 attacks.
Yep.
And then at ninth level is your armor modifications. You learn how to use your artificer infusions, which is where you take a mundane item, turn it into a magical item, to specially modify your arcane armor. That armor now counts as separate items for the purposes of your infuse item feature. Armor, the chest piece, boots, helmet, and the armor's special weapon. Each of those items can bear one of your infusions, and the infusions transfer over if you change your armor's model with the armor model feature. In addition, the maximum number of items you can infuse at once increases by 2, but those extra items must be part of your arcane armor. Now, this is great because it allows you to do things like
It's
throw
insane.
throw a plus onto your special weapon. So like a +1, +2, whatever level you can do. It allows you to separately enchant helmet, boots, weapon, chest piece.
We'll say this starts to get a little confusing now too at this point because it's like
And
you're gonna have to keep track of this stuff yourself for the most part, and you'll have to pay very close attention as well to the artificer table to be like, hey, what are my current amount of artificer infusions that I can have active right now? Because right now it says it increases it by 2, but only specifically for your arcane armor, meaning whatever your maximum is, you probably at this point will already have most likely your maximum arcane infusions already active on certain things by 9th level. So you might have to switch some stuff around to like maybe make it a little bit more like, but you also would just get 2 free infusions on your arcane armor.
The main draw to this is if you're playing in a game where your DM doesn't give you magic items, you don't have to wait for them. You can just make them yourself. Obviously, where the armor shines is where you take an already existing item and you now make it your item. Now, I don't know how you would rule this, but if I went and grabbed like a mithril chest plate or plate mail, to me, that's just this piece, right? So if I turn it into my arcane armor, everything turns into mithril, but only this part is already enchanted. Everything else I could then
see that's the thing, right? It's what's interesting too is like per the rules of the artificer like infusion, like we're talking about like the +1s and stuff that you can do to add like bonuses, you technically cannot enchant an already enchanted item, right? You couldn't take like a +1 something and then add a +1 to it to then make it a +2, unfortunately, at least by normal circumstances. However, with your arcane armor, I would say that you could. It specifically stipulates that like you can do this to your arcane armor, and any armor that is and you can turn any magical or enchanted armor into your arcane armor. So I would therefore stipulate, like it makes sense to me to be like, hey, if you have a +2 like plate mail, let's say a +2 plate, right? I would say then you turn into your arcane armor. That allows you then to add that +1 that you have for your artificer infusion to your plate to turn it into a +3 at that point. Like, because that based off of rules as written, there's nothing that says that you can't do that at that point. Specifically states you can't really do that with the normal artificer infusions. But if it's a part of your arcane armor, that changes the game entirely and means that you can start adding those bonuses to already enchanted equipment.
I guess the way I would rule it is just for the sake of, I have a +2 plate. The chest piece, that piece is the plate with the +2 and everything else is now separate. So you can't add anything to that piece, but the boots, helmet, and arms are now available to you like normal.
I mean,
it would get a little wonky.
Well, but here's the thing though. At that point, you might also have, for instance, magical boots. You might have magical gauntlets. You might have magical, like you'll already.
But that's the
level.
point. That's the point. Is that instead of getting magical items, you make your own specifically to this piece of armor. So now, say you had gauntlets of ogre power or whatever, and you now you can give those to someone else, and now you can turn your, the weapons into that. So now you just have that instead of what you were doing before. It's a little wonky. I think the way tables are going to rule it is going to change depending on the table you're at a little bit. Me personally,
I mean, like, well, because that's the thing, right? Technically speaking, if we want to be like, if we want to be technical with it, right? A piece of plate mail is not going to include just like the chest piece, right?
mhm,
A plate mail specifically includes like a full thing of like armor. That's the whole point, right? It protects your whole body to such
mhm.
an extent. And all of that is the plate mail. It's not just the chest piece. So if we're going to get technical with it, again, if you can turn that entire bit of armor is technically enchanted.
Yeah.
And so, if that entire thing is enchanted, you can still turn into arcane armor. If it specifically says that you can modify your arcane armor, then I would say rules as written and the most
Yeah, I
technical
guess
aspect
so.
is you could still add on those bonuses to already enchanted stuff because it's not just that one part or piece of it that is magic. It's the entire armor set, which is again the point, covering your body to provide the most ample amount of protection.
Yeah,
And
you
so
know what?
I
If
would,
that's
yeah,
that's how it's written, so I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
yeah. I mean, and it's just like, again, that is why this subclass has the potential to be kind of super uber broken because you can take essentially any magical armor. Like I said, like you get obsidian dragon plate or power armor or armor of invulnerability or whatever, and you turn it into your arcane armor because there's nothing that says that you can't. And then you can start modifying it and adding bonuses to that already. Like, holy crap. And you can do it specifically to 4 separate parts of your armor. You can do it to the head, the chest, the boots, and technically the gloves, because that's where both, the fucking
The
special
gauntlets.
special weapons would be, right? So I mean, obviously it would also be like, you couldn't you couldn't, like, for instance, wear 2 separate types of gloves or whatever on,
No, but
right?
you could have the gauntlets enchanted a certain way.
Yeah. So you could like, for instance, like that is kind of where certain discrepancies maybe come into play, where it's like, hey, as wearing full plate, technically speaking, you would probably already have gauntlets too with that, but then you could switch those gauntlets out for like a magical pair, but then you can still technically enchant those too. So it's like your full kit, right? We'll say your full equipment kit for an artificer armor is essentially whatever you put on. And then you can essentially synergize with that to turn it into your arcane armor, or rather an extension of your arcane armor. You're literally melding with this. Because like how I played it when I was playing armor, I wanted him to be maybe a little bit more futuristic, interestingly enough. So I made a lot of his stuff like nanite based, like nanite focused, where like literally where it says, your armor changes to cover your entire body, right? That's also what your arcane armor does. Excuse me. Um, and so how I did it was, how we've seen literally Iron Man or a multitude of other iterations. Doesn't have to be him, but he's the closest representation where like, you like you just think, and all of a sudden these nanites start to form, and you see like the metallicness or whatever, like kind of form over you. I played it almost like Iron Man's, and I don't know if you would be familiar with this, Sammy, but Iron Man had at one point in his career a suit known as the Endosim armor. And it was from a series, I believe, known as Superior Iron Man. And it was basically like an Iron Man suit that functioned very similarly to like a symbiote, specifically, where it was like liquid metal and stuff, as it would like flow and like spread over him at any point. Like there weren't like pieces that like would fly to him and connect with him or whatever. Like it would literally like it could like meld into his skin and his pores and stuff, and then it would like come out. It was like a symbiote. And so that's kind of how I view this kind of being. Or you could do it as well, where it's like, how Iron Man opens it up and he just like steps out of the armor. You can do it like that because you can doff and don the armor as an action. So you could do it that way as well. But yeah, overall, the armor modification feature at 9th level is incredible, super busted. Why don't we go ahead and head on to the next milestone for Armourer here, Sammy. Take it
Yeah,
away.
we'll do the last bit of the armor, which is perfected armor at level 15. Your arcane armor gains additional benefits based on the model as shown below. For Guardian, When a huge or smaller creature you can see ends its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use your reaction to magically force it to make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, you pull the creature up to 25 feet directly to an unoccupied space. If you pull the target to a space within 5 feet of you, you can make a melee weapon attack against it as part of this reaction. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses after you finish a long rest. That's cool. Battlefield control. We love battlefield control.
I mean, it just allows you to literally like not
Pull
even
people.
I was gonna say not even on your turn to literally like pull. So like for instance, let's say, and it's huge or smaller, meaning you can literally pull a giant at this point with this like magically magnetic
And some
field.
dragons.
And and some any dragon below ancients, like so adults. Up to adult dragons you could pull.
Like,
yeah, you could literally just be like zoom, and they'll like get forced closer. And the cool thing is too is that again, it's whenever it ends its turn within 30 feet of you. So this could also be, for instance, if an enemy like runs away, right? They're trying to run away from you. They can move 30 feet. That'll still technically be probably within like 30 feet of you, right? And so at that point, you can literally just pull them right back to where they were before, essentially. Because again, it's specifically when it ends its turn within 30 feet of you, meaning at any point, you can pull them up to 25 feet. You can pull them always right up to you and then immediately get a chance to pummel them in the face, like as part of that reaction. Yeah. So like they have to make the save, but it's a strength saving throw, to be honest, which not a lot of things have proficiency in strength saves, interestingly enough. Like there aren't like a ton of them. Certain monsters, especially when they're obviously huge, are probably going to have pretty high strength scores. So even if they might not have proficiency, they'll still have a pretty high bonus. But still, at that point, at 15th level, I mean, your spell save is probably going to be super high too, like at that point. So it's like this particular feature is actually really great because it like Sam said, battlefield control, and it's only at the cost of a reaction, and you can still potentially not only battlefield control but then deal damage on top of that as part of it.
And it also pulls into your normal lightning gauntlets or the thunder gauntlets, dealing, have disadvantage on attack rolls other than you and stuff like that, where you'll pull someone in and force them.
More like, hey, you got to focus on me, like try to run away, you try to whatever, you're gonna have disadvantage, and then now if you run away, even better.
They have to come at it's fun. The infiltrator counterpart, now while Adam likes the guardian a lot, I really like the infiltrator. Any creature that takes lightning damage from your lightning launcher glimmers with a magical light until the start of your next turn. The glimmering creature sheds dim light in a 5-foot radius and has disadvantage on attack rolls against you. As the light jolts if it attacks you. In addition, the next attack roll against it has advantage, and if that attack hits, the target takes an extra 1d6 lightning damage. Now, so you correct me, because if I'm reading this correct, I attack twice on a turn.
Yep.
If I hit you the first time, I get advantage on my second attack.
Yep.
And then I hit you the second time, and the next person that attacks you has advantage. Because it says whenever you take damage from the lightning launcher.
If the lightning goes through, like if they can take that lightning damage, then like you might, from what it seems like, you would just keep giving them basically a free advantage on the attacks.
It's a guiding bolt every turn.
No spell slot cost.
If you attack 2 people and hit both of them, that's 2 guiding bolts for free, like ostensibly.
And not just that, but advantage. Like at least one time on each of your turns, you'll be dealing like 3d6 lightning damage to that creature. Like, because the lightning launcher again just deals a baseline of 1d6, but then once on each of your turns, you can deal an extra 1d6 to the target. And again, with this, it's like, hey, if the attack roll that has advantage, if it hits, it deals another 1d6. So you attack it the first time for just 1d6 of lightning damage, and then you get advantage on the next attack, hit it, deal 1d6, then choose to expend a charge to this turn to deal an extra d6, which then deals an extra d6 because you hit the target. So that the first attack is 1d6 and the next one is 3d6. And then your friend, if someone else attacks and hits it, then that's another d6 of damage. So that would technically be potentially like you would deal 5d6 worth of lightning damage to this creature in one round, essentially.
Yep.
Like, that's pretty
And that's
crazy.
You're not using spells. You're not using
You're
anything.
just firing your normal attack, your normal weapon. Like,
yeah.
that is crazy, bro.
And I mean, and the funny thing is, like, you look at some of these, the infusions and things that you could add to it.
I know. Again, here's the thing. Okay, wait, hang on a second. Let me just check something. Because, like, again, I literally made like my artificer. I played it, but then I also made one where it's like he's like level 20 and has like all of this shit, and it was difficult to, like, again, it gets, for any of you out there, it gets complicated. Like, for any of you out there who are looking to play artificer or dive into it, like, just know, like, Armourer, ironically, is probably like the most straightforward, and yet because of the armored modification feature, it can also be some of the most complicated, because you have like so many infusions that you can apply, but they have certain specific restrictions and rules, and you only get certain amounts of them at certain levels, and so it gets a bit confusing.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, like, with the artificial infusions that you can see there, like, they're pretty bonkers. And especially, again, I think you also get some, correct me if I'm wrong, do you get some, like, per subclass as well? Like, you get certain infusions based off your subclass?
No, everyone gets the same infusions.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I've forgotten or not if you would specifically get in any based off of your subclass. But hang on, let's see here. Like, Arcane Artificer, I'm trying to look for the actual infusion table. Here we go, I think. Yeah, here we go. This is it. One of the infusions that I really love was like homunculus, for instance. Yeah. Like, being able to create, because that also allows you as like a bonus action to like have another creature attack from like range. So you not only have your armor that you can use, but you also have like another creature, like just a basically a familiar, but that can actually attack without you having to like give them like a spell or something, right? Or homebrew. Although honestly, for me, I would just probably homebrew that, like, certain familiars might be able to attack depending on certain circumstances, maybe. But even with that, it's like that's a great one. Boots of the Winding Path is a great infusion to have.
I never understood that one.
Really? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like, again, while wearing these boots, a creature can teleport up to 15 feet as a bonus action to an unoccupied space the creature can see. The creature must have occupied that space at some point during the current turn. So essentially, what that means is if you move, like, again, say you're 30 feet away from a target, right? You run up to them and hit them. You can use this. Back. You can use it as a free disengage thing, where like you can just be like wham, and you teleport back to a spot within 15 feet that you would have just occupied. So like you literally, like, it helps you again have a little bit more movement, especially again as, like, for instance, the Armorer. If the Guardian versions, you go up and whack a person with your Thunder Gauntlets, again, they have disadvantage on any creature except for you. You use Boots of the Winding Path to bonus action teleport back 15 feet. Like, they have to then move up to at least 15 feet to get you.
Yeah.
Like, or because you could also, like, basically just be like, you could essentially, like, if they're a little bit further away, you could move up, then go backwards, and then so like this provides so much more utility, especially for Armorer Guardian in this, and again, it is a little bit more specific, and so you have to be careful about how you use it, and that honestly is the essence of the Artificer. You have to be smart about how you utilize these things. And you have a lot of things, like, it really does, ironically, maybe I shouldn't say ironically, that might not be the right word. It does maybe very thematically and appropriately tap into a person's actual intelligence to keep track of all these small little bits and pieces to utilize, right? It's funny because our Armorer, they utilize intelligence as their main stat, and you do have to be a certain amount of intelligence to really utilize this class to its fullest, because you have to, again, be able to recall and remember all of the stuff that you can have. But it's a beautiful thing. Like, they have so many. Obviously, you have like a lot of the just baseline. You can add +1 to an item. Gives you higher AC or higher to hit / damage. You have Helm of Awareness. which is essentially just like, a sentinel shield. You get advantage on initiative rolls, and you can't be surprised so long as you aren't incapacitated. Again, the homunculus servant's a great one. You can make a radiant weapon. You can give a weapon like a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, and it like has the ability to shed bright light and blind creatures. Repeating shot is a helpful one. Specifically, I think magic weapon bonus rules in range ignores the loading property. So this repeating shot might only really be applicable to like firearms then, right?
Well,
like would it still be able to be applied to like bow and arrows or like crossbows?
Which one? The
Repeating shot. It would be able to apply to crossbows because crossbows have the loading property, right? I don't know if
you
bows
can.
have
All
the
it needs to
property.
be is a simple or martial weapon with the ammunition property. So, yes,
and bows have the ammunition property, right? So okay, so yeah, so then you can just like it'll just conjure like energy, like arcane energy, but like ammunition for you. Like you no longer would have to load or have arrows, right? Which would then, well, technically because it's a +1, it already makes it magical, but still, like that instantly like, just gets rid of the need to have to care about ammunition, which to be fair, not a lot of games really pay that close attention to, from my experience. And nor should you. Like I've played in games where people were like, hey, you got to remember to say that you're picking up, your arrows or your crossbow bolts that you fired. Otherwise, you're just not going to have any more after a while, which is like, okay, sure. I feel like as a character who primarily, or even like, like as a sub option utilizes ammunition, I probably just intrinsically know to pick that stuff up after a fight if it's possible, right? Like it just like it seems dumb to have to constantly like and again unnecessarily like bogging down of the game to have to constantly be like after every encounter that you have, especially if you have like multiple encounters in a row, to be like, hey, I'm gonna go pick up all my ammunition. Hey, just as a heads up, I'm gonna pick up my ammunition. Hey, just I'm gonna pick up my ammunition. Hey, it's
yeah,
like you shouldn't have to constantly say that every single time. It should just be, again, expected unless there is some extenuating circumstance. Like, say, again, you fired an arrow and it like went hurling down a chasm or something. You know what I mean? If a bit of ammunition is reasonably capable of being retrieved, in my opinion, you should just be expected that you went to retrieve that ammunition.
Well, yeah, there are going to be, some games where they're definitely more like survival oriented, where you have to keep track of stuff like that. Most games you won't have to. Within a reasonable doubt, you get back most of your arrows and things like that. So, this class just gives you the opportunity to really kind of play with a bunch of different stuff and tailor it and try things out for what you want.
Yeah, you got another infusion resistant armor, as you would expect. It gives you just resistance to certain damage types, which is huge. You've got, a spell refueling ring. So for instance, some of these, I feel like they probably wouldn't be applicable to your arcane armor. For instance, things that are like, like it specifically says spell refueling ring, right? So that means it has to be a ring that you're wearing that allows you to do that, which isn't technically part of like your armor. But the resistant armor, I feel like you could absolutely slap that on. But that also, again, you could spend that ring as being just part of your normal amount of infusions, and then the extra 2 you get just on your armor. Let's see. Obviously, radiant weapon. You could make your gauntlets or your lightning launcher the radiant weapon.
That's the cool thing. Your gauntlets now count as either gauntlets or simple weapons, whether it's melee or ranged. Which means technically you could either give it a combat infusion of like a plus or whatever, or you can turn it into, you could use it to make magical gauntlets that have a different effect, whether that's resistance, whether that's gauntlets of ogre power, whether that's stuff like that. So it allows you to really mix and match what's available to you, even more so than a normal artificer.
Yeah,
which is why I
no.
like it so much.
Yeah, it's I feel like again it is far and away the best artificer subclass. Again, the other ones such as like, you know, battlesmith and even artillerist, like they're still cool and have a lot of like dope aspects to them. Let's be honest, I'm sorry, alchemist is just objectively the worst of all of them. Um it has cool flavor. And obviously, everybody like would love to be an alchemist. I mean, especially if you know the anime Full Metal Alchemist, you're like, oh, ooh, I'm sorry, it's not. It's not anything like that. It's not anything like that. And it's it's a little unfortunate. Um, but yeah, there are so many things that you can have here that just make it like specifically the armorer, but any artificer, but specifically an armorer, just bonkers. Like, especially again, because at a certain amount of time, your attunement slots increase naturally as an artificer. You are able to just attune to at maximum up to 6 items at a time, which for technically in vanilla D&D, only class that allows you to do that by normal standards. Like in my games a lot of the time, to be fair, I specifically created feats that allow you to increase your attunement slots. And I'll sometimes give I'll like give my players that when they reach certain levels, because I like that. I like higher level of play, and I like for characters to be able to utilize like more cool items and stuff like that. But in just normal vanilla tabletop D&D, like this is the only class that allows you to do that, and they have things that synergize into it. And then honestly, I feel like they did a pretty decent job of crafting this class in such a thematic, juicy way, where not only again does all of its abilities really synergize beautifully with one another, like as we kind of discussed in previous episodes, of like building off of one another. Like this is what makes a subclass so great, is because this also synergizes with its main class, right? Just a full class of artificer, to such a beautiful extent, and capitalizes on it and builds upon it. And that's why I would definitely say Armourer is one of the best, if not the best, artificer subclass, and maybe even one of the best subclasses in the game, bar none.
Yeah, it's definitely
like,
up there.
it is super high up there with almost like with totem warrior barbarian, blade singer wizard, like all of that. Anything else that you'd like to talk about the armorer subclass, Sammy?
No, I mean, I love its flavor. The idea of, being this magical armor and all this shit is one of my favorite kind of ideas that you could put into D&D, especially it being such a high fantasy setting. To me, it really shines true as something different and interesting that you won't find everywhere. But I mean, Artificer is also one of those classes. When they announced it was finally going to be official, I was very excited for it.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like the magical armor functions as a crutch. So if you have missing limbs, if there's something wrong with you, like you could have someone who by no rights of their own, would never be a hero, would never be someone who's out there on the front lines just by virtue of society alone. But they're like, no, I'm out there. They can't walk or they can't do that, but it doesn't matter. They're out here fighting just like everybody else. And it's a cool trope that you can use. And I think that would make an interesting character. And it's definitely something I want to do at some point, but I already have an artificer in a campaign, so I can't right now.
Fair enough. I feel that. Again, like take it from me, Armor, super beautiful, a lot of fun, especially because there's so many cool different combinations of like builds that you can make for this thing, and they are super fun. For sure. I'm a little sad that campaign kind of died out, and I haven't had a chance to use him some more, because I actually was enjoying him quite a bit. But there you are. There you go, everybody. That is our take of the Artificer subclass Armorer, with all those juicy takes that we gave you. Once again, I feel like we really do have to just hammer home the thing of like, if you're going to play an Artificer, just be prepared, man. It's going to take a lot of trial and error, a lot of research, and a lot of keeping track of things to really do it right and really do it justice. So again, just be ready for that if you're coming in. It'll be super rewarding if you're able to like kind of get that stuff down, but it can be a lot, as a heads up. But with that, let's go ahead and bounce over to my choice of subclass today. And we're going to talk about another one that, again, I feel like a lot of people at this point will be familiar with, specifically because it also is quite popular in the game Baldur's Gate 3. Has a lot of interesting, juicy kind of, again, parallels, how I kind of want to discuss and touch upon. And that's going to be the subclass Way of the Open Hand for the main class Monk. And again, for a lot of you, if you've played Baldur's Gate 3 at all, I'm pretty sure that Way of the Open Hand Monk is the most popular Monk subclass in Baldur's Gate 3, right? From what I
mean, I would say probably. I know people have.
I know people like Way of the Four Elements.
Four Elements.
Yeah, but I know they like Four Elements. And the other ones, what was the other one? Is it Drunken Master or Kinsey?
Shadow.
Oh, it's Shadow? Oh, you're right. It is Shadow. Shadow is cool. Shadow actually is pretty cool. So that honestly, I would have to. I'm not entirely. I'll be honest. I'm not entirely sure which one would be the most popular. I know people love.
I think it's Open Hand by virtue of what they're capable of with some of the feats in that game and how they work.
That's
differently
fair.
From the tabletop.
Yeah, and not just that. Obviously, like Way of the Open Hand is also it was a very popular subclass for sure back in the day, because it was one of the first.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, what do you feel like? So you think like in the most recent kind of current zeitgeist, if the popularity of Open Hand has fallen a bit?
I mean, I'll be real. I don't see many monks anymore.
I mean,
in general, I tend not to see them.
I was going to say Monk itself is a very kind of, I guess, controversial class in the tabletop community. Many people consider it to be like either a supremely busted class or a supremely like weak.
I don't think Monk's very busted. The reality with Monk
I agree.
It was kind of it was unfortunately kind of laughed at from the beginning of its inception in 5e because a lot of people didn't like that it was there.
Yeah, a lot of people felt like, again, it broke the whole aspect of the fantasy thing. Like, because it's like,
because they decided
it's the Eastern,
Well, the problem is that they decided that a fantasy game with magic had to be based in Western medieval.
Yeah.
And that's not really how that works. And so
all.
they added Monk in here.
Not even the slightest.
And yes, it is the only class that is Eastern in origin, if you want to put it that way.
Except for the Samurai subclass.
Now there's Samurai, but originally that wasn't there.
That's true.
But the reality is that, to me at least, Monk is one of those classes that if you don't build it correctly, it sucks. You need 3 good stats, which also sucks because you need an offensive stat, your con, and your wisdom to be effective, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. I think Way of the Open Hand is still probably one of the, rules as written, what's on paper in front of you, one of the best Monk.
I mean, I 100% agree. Like, it just
there's a lot of interesting Monk subclasses.
Yeah,
but if we're talking raw firepower,
raw, if we're talking about survivability, if we're talking about like raw force and power, if we're talking about like even certain utility, right?
Yeah,
like, it has it all. It is very simple and straightforward. It's not nearly as flashy as a lot of the other ones can be, but the irony of its effectiveness in its simplicity is what still makes it, in my opinion, one of the best subclasses for Monk. And you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll get into this a little bit, and maybe you'll see what we mean. We're also, again, going to draw some parallels from Baldur's Gate 3 to show you, because they switched some stuff up in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, like
it's not completely different. Like they literally just added some things. They took some things from later levels that you get in like the tabletop version, and they kind of gave it almost like a watered down version in Baldur's Gate 3. Because Baldur's Gate 3, the level cap is 12. You're never going to go higher than 12. Whereas obviously in tabletop, the level cap is 20. And it'll still be, you might not even ever make that far 20, because that's unless you're playing a specific type of game, unlikely. But it still shows like, the power creep or the power gain is just vastly different because of that. But let's go ahead. We're going to talk about the Way of the Open Hand Monk in the tabletop version first. So, monks of the Way of the Open Hand are the ultimate masters of martial arts combat, whether armed or unarmed. They learn techniques to push and trip their opponents, manipulate ki to heal damage to their bodies, and practice advanced meditation that can protect them from harm. Starting at level 3, when you choose this tradition, you get your open hand technique, which gives you the ability to manipulate your enemy's ki when you harness your own. Whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by your Flurry of Blows feature, you can impose one of the following effects on that target. 1, it must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone. 2, it must make a strength saving throw. If it fails, you can push it up to 15 feet away from you. And 3, it cannot take reactions until the end of your next turn. Now that right there, that first feature that you get at level 3 when you get this subclass, those 3 extra options to your Flurry of Blows already makes this class, once again, we talked about this in the last subclass discussion, like any ability that you can still just use throughout your entire career of this subclass is a great ability. That is what you want. Right from the first moment you get this subclass, if that ability you get at level 3 or wherever it starts, you still are using it up to the point where you're level 20, that is an amazing ability, and that's what we want to see. And you absolutely will be using this because, again, shocker, just as a little spoiler alert for people, as a monk, you're going to be using your Flurry of Blows a lot.
And if you aren't, then you're doing something wrong.
Literally. And what's amazing is that you don't even have to spend extra ki for open hand technique. It's just a part of your Flurry of Blows. And you can choose on either attack, like, because you do it twice. You always do 2 attacks with your Flurry of Blows. And so you can choose on either of those to whether or not to make them make a dex save, a strength save, or no save, and you just take the reaction, right? You can either knock them prone from a dex save.
You can only do it once, though.
Yeah, well, you can specifically impose one of the following effects, but it's
only once per Flurry of Blows.
Well, but it says whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by your Flurry of Blows. So again, if you hit them once, you hit them twice. I
believe Sage Advice corrected it.
Did it? Okay, yeah. I haven't checked Sage Advice on it.
I think the way that they worded that was so that if you hit them with only one of the attacks, instead of if you miss with one, you can still do I don't know. I think it's only one effect per turn.
I'll have to look that up just to be certain. Because I will say technically in Baldur's Gate 3, it does specifically, it is specifically like you can only affect them once with one of the effects because you can only choose to do like one of the effects. So that might be the case. For me, I would be okay with allowing a creature to, or allowing them to be like, if you hit with either one of the attacks, you can impose like 2 effects. But it could absolutely be that you could only oppose one of the effects.
Oh wait, maybe you can do it with both.
I mean, rules as written. That's the interpretation I get. Again, it says whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks by your Flurry of Blows.
It's because you would do it after each attack.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the thing. If you connect with any of your Flurry of Blows attacks, and you only get a maximum of 2, you only ever get a maximum of 2, you can impose these effects. And that's phenomenal. And again, and to be fair, like I said, in Baldur's Gate 3, however, they do it the way that Sammy just said, where it's like you specifically can choose to do one of these effects, and then you do like the 2 attacks, and then one of the effects takes place, just based off of how it's done, because I would assume in terms of programming, that was just easier. It would be way harder to program it to basically be like, oh, you connected with one of them, now you have to choose which effect you want to maybe take place, and then you connect with the other one, and
you can knock them prone and then kick them 15 feet away.
15 feet away. Yeah, it's awesome. And so that is one thing that I might say is actually superior in the TDRP in the tabletop version as opposed to Baldur's Gate, is that you can, with both attacks, and basically inflict 2 of these conditions, basically with just 1. And again, it's like, that's awesome. Because again, for instance, if you do the dex save and they fail it, get knocked prone, guess what? Your next Flurry of Blow attack is going to be at advantage because they're prone on the ground, meaning you'll be more likely to connect, so therefore inflict your next effect upon them as well. One other aspect that I really love and that I again, I tried this in a game, and for whatever reason, our dungeon master, like, I guess felt salty about it and didn't want to make like keep this as like a normal thing that I could just do. But I made a wood gnome, or a forest gnome monk way of the open hand. And one of my go-to moves and tactics was flurry of blows. And then I would make them make a strength save. And what I would do is if they failed, I would push them up to 15 feet up into the air. Because there's nothing that says that you can't do that. There's nothing that says that you
15
can't.
feet away from you.
There's nothing that says that you can't literally like, sure, you can uppercut them into the air 15 feet away from you. Especially as a gnome that is a small creature and that, you know, is probably attacking them from at a lower distance angle than normal anyways, right? So, I mean, again, like, point being is if you can knock a creature at least 10 feet in the air, they will then fall back down and take an extra d6 of falling damage. Again, for whatever reason, my GM at the time was like, he's like, I mean, I don't know if I just want to allow you, like, you just get free damage or whatever. And here's the thing, audience. Here's the thing, acolytes. Like I was a bit salty and a bit agitated and irritated with that, specifically for the reason of like, we had like 2 warlocks / paladins in the party, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, you guys. Monk as a class is never going to be your hardest hitter. Like if you've got a fighter, if you have a paladin, if you have a wizard or even a sorcerer, they are never going to be dealing the most amount of damage from anyone in that party. It's just like, even at higher levels, it is highly unlikely that they're going to be the highest damage dealer. And so again, finding a way, like unless they get like specific items, very specific items that boost their abilities, literally getting an extra d6 of damage. And you can only ever push them up to a max of 15 feet, meaning I couldn't even get 2d6 from it. You can't knock them unless you're, again, obviously you're on like a bridge or something and you like push them off the bridge. But I mean, in that instance, it doesn't matter anyway. That's a completely separate thing. But being able to just uppercut them or like, you know, springboard kick them into the air for like 1 extra d6 of damage, that is in no way breaking the game or like giving an unfair advantage of power or whatever for my character. Like, and the fact that he was trying to like put this as an argument to me, like, made me annoyed. And I was like, I'm like, really? Like, I felt again, he was just salty for the fact that I was using this in a way that he didn't expect and he didn't think about. Cause I would ask him, I'd be like, hey, how high is the ceiling right now? And he would be like, 20 feet, 15 feet. I'm like, perfect. I uppercut him in the air 15 feet. And it, not only just that, you have to spend a key point to do it.
And
they have to fail a save.
Yeah,
they have to fail a strength save. So it's not even guaranteed to still happen even then. And so it's like, you know, in my opinion, I think that kind of stuff is super cool, right? As a monk, you should be able to do this cool stuff. You're never going to be the most powerful member of your team, but you can be some of the most coolest, flavorful. Man, that's why people play monks. They play monks to do that dope monk crap.
Yeah,
you know, you're running across water, over walls. You're doing triple flips, like landing down. You're sweep kicking. You're not like you're doing cool stuff.
That's
so
the whole
allow
point.
People to do it exactly, and like
the ability to walk up to somebody and just blow rupture their insides through punches into their ribs,
and not even like punching. You just touch them. You just like you do like a 1 inch like punch, or just like
just the idea of being able to walk up to somebody and literally backhand their soul out of them.
Literally, bro.
It's a fun, like, you don't get to do that with a lot of classes. Usually there's a weapon involved. You know, there's certain classes where I think there's a barbarian where you use like natural weapons and stuff like that, where it could be a little bit more visceral. But monks, it's you're right there. There is no like
all you don't utilize weaponry. Like again, at higher levels, hopefully you're getting like maybe some like, you know, gauntlets, gloves, wraps, something.
Or even, in my opinion, even using a weapon in your main hand, but having your offhand and your legs free is still monk as shit, because now your main attack, you can still stunning strike with it, right?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. You stunning strike might specifically be on unarmed strikes.
Unarmed. Either way.
It might be. Don't quote me. Hang on, let me see if I can find it real quick. Just to be sure. Stunning strike. No, it's a melee weapon attack. So yeah,
Yeah.
even with that, you
So-
can still stunning strike them.
Yeah, like it's you can stunning strike people with a weapon, and so like yes, getting cool gauntlets would be awesome, but there aren't that many of them as of raw in the game.
No,
So
there's some really powerful ones, but
there's some good ones. The dragon cult ones where they get more
oh
powerful.
yeah, I mean, well, those are new. Like I'm even talking about like the best ones, in my opinion, you could probably get would be the soul catcher gloves.
Yeah,
those things are ridiculous. Those
Yeah.
things are amazing.
But there aren't that many of them in the game. So if your DM doesn't want to give them to you, he might either just make they might either just make like a custom one where it's like, oh, there's an extra G6, which is still great. But the reality is you can wear those and still hold a flame tongue.
Yeah.
And look, flame tongue is the
Same.
overall best.
Same.
Best. Like if we're talking mid to
If
high
we're talking-
tier,
yeah, well, I mean,
everywhere
just-
in here
it
is
doesn't
flame tongue.
matter. It is always applicable, bro. There's just the extra 2d6. Like I made specifically other weapons just to be like, yo, it does an extra 2d6 of damage.
It doesn't have to be flame tongue.
It doesn't have to be fire. It doesn't have to be fire. It can be lightning. It can be cold. It can be radiant. Whatever. Just
this. You know, and as I always tell people, you could have you could have a pole arm, you could have like a quarterstaff in both hands. Guess what? You can still unarmed attack with your feet.
You got feet.
I'm gonna kick you 15 feet in the air.
I'm
which
literally
sounds
like
amazing.
I'm gonna do a backflip, like rising, like crescent kick to knock you in the air. You know what I'm saying?
Gonna do is I'm gonna walk up to you really slowly and then touch you with the tip of my toes and then do the vibrating palm thing.
Yeah, the quivering palm. Yeah. So speaking of that, again,
let's move on.
I would just say again, one last like for GMs, please allow your players to just do cool stuff like that. Again, like it's really especially for monk. Monks don't get a lot already. They get so much flack. They get so much shit. Like allow them to be able to like do this flavorful thing with that. Okay, that's what this class is built for. So allow it, please. Don't be a salty stickler like that one GM was. But moving on, we're gonna head off to the next ability that you get in the subclass at level 6, known as Wholeness of Body. At level 6, you gain the ability to heal yourself. As an action, you can regain hit points equal to 3 times your monk level, which at this point would be 6. So that would be 18 points. You could heal yourself up to 18 hit points just straight up. You must finish a long rest before you can use this feature again. Again, very simple, very short. However, quite effective. Like at level 6, let's see, a monk gets a D8. At level 6, if you just did just the average baseline hit point increase, it would be 8, 13, 18, 23, 28, 33. So you'd have 33 hit points right now, meaning that's more than half your hit points that you get back just right there at this level. At 6th level, if you just did default like average hit point increase, you get back more than half your hit points.
Wait. At level 6, you would get 18, right?
Yes.
So that's That's what
I'm saying. At level 6, you get 18 hit points. At level 6, if you just did average allocation, you would have 33 hit points max for if you just did average hit point increase at that level.
It depends on your con, but yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, it depends on your con, but just average, yeah. So it's like again, you would potentially get back essentially almost more than half your hit points at that point. Like if you just did like you're like essentially, yeah. If you just it depends on your con, of course, but obviously because of this, it might be difficult to get a high con. Either way, you would essentially get almost around half your hit points back. And again, this just gets better as you level up. By level 20, you're literally able to heal for 60 hit points as an action. As an action. Like, and it's just straight up. You don't have to roll for it. That's the biggest thing, right? Like it's like so many like, other spells and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it takes a spell slot for one, plus an action, plus you have to roll to see how much you heal for, except for the spell heal. Like literally at level 20, an open hand monk can heal for almost the same amount that a heal spell would. Yeah. Like that's bonkers. And it's again, you get those at level 6 and it just gets better and higher as you go up in level. It's great. Again, it does take an action, But the cool thing is that monks just have a lot of options for bonus actions too, a lot of the time. So it's like you're not necessarily pressed for action economy with that, because it allows you a little bit more survivability and longevity, as well as, you know, you're not necessarily limiting yourself because you still have other means of action economy.
And I mean, I'm just gonna put this out there too. You can use this outside of combat quite effectively.
Yeah. Probably the best outside of
combat. It's you know, you finish an encounter and you guys are running low on spells and they're like, oh, we can heal you, and you're like, I don't need that.
This.
You saved that. And then you just literally bring yourself up.
You just breathe deep and your wounds just start to knit together and heal.
Which is like wild.
It's great.
It's cool. It's a good one. It's one of those like healthy mind is a healthy body type abilities that I like. I mean, monk is like that.
I mean, as I say, monk just as a class, as a concept, is all about that. It's about, again, the whole point of monk, which is a bit different than every other class, is that it's magical, very much so. But it's about not external magic, but internal magic, right?
Yeah.
Monks, for the most part, unless of course, you know, your 4 elements or sun soul or whatever, it's specifically,
even that's all key, buddy.
I mean, it's key, but it is much more external. Whereas a lot of other monks is like, it's all about your internal cultivation of magic, right? You use magic to bolster yourself, your physical and mental abilities, rather than like to manipulate or whatever the force is externally. But moving on from wholeness of body, the next ability you get will be at level 11, and that is known as tranquility. And this one is pretty cool too. You can enter a special meditation that surrounds you with an aura of peace. At the end of a long rest, you automatically gain the effect of a sanctuary spell that lasts until the start of your next long rest. However, the spell can still end early, as it normally does, i.e., if you attack somebody. Or is it also if you affect another creature with a spell, I think, is the other stipulation. I think, I believe it's specifically that. Hang on, I can even just freaking look right here. Yeah, if the warded creature makes an attack, casts a spell that affects an enemy, or deals damage to another creature, this spell ends. So, as a way of the open hand monk, you're probably not necessarily going to have spells to affect an enemy. And also notice it does specifically state enemy. So you could make the argument, oh, I can cast haste on my friend, or I could cast whatever, and my sanctuary wouldn't end. I could just buff my party, and my sanctuary wouldn't end.
Yeah, like, well, you won't have a lot of uses of that as a monk.
Not as a monk, but the fact, again, you also just get this for free every single day, every single long rest that you have.
Which means like, I mean, your first encounter that day, if someone goes before you and they go to attack you,
they're gonna have to make a save in order to try and hit you at all. So again, it will go away once you get into a fight and you fight back. But I also just love the concept of, like, for instance, like, I think we made a joke about this before, where you have sanctuary, like you're just walking through like a street, right? And maybe there's an assassin hiding, trying to like kill you, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even necessarily know. And he just like aims at you, but then like feels this weird presence, this weird effect on his mind, and he can't. So he like has to switch the target to somebody else, or he just loses the attack entirely.
Well, I love I love the idea of like, you get up in the morning, you go make your coffee, you walk down the street, and it's just like absolute hell is broken loose, and people are running around trying to kill each other, and someone comes up to you, and they just like, no one can hate you.
Yeah, they're just like, and they like hit each other in the face or something on accident. You're just like walking by. It's so great. I love it so much.
It's dumb in the best way. And if
again,
you have
it's like,
if you have a decent wisdom,
and at this point at level 11, you probably should. This is a pretty decent ability. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's a passive ability. It's
even if you have like a 14
simple
wisdom, that would be 10 plus.
I believe at a level 11, I think proficiency goes. I think it's +4.
It's +4, so that's a 14
at level 11. Yeah, so it would be,
you'd want like
8,
at least
10, 14. So I would say, again, you do want to at least get your wisdom to like a 16 for a 3, for it to be like 15. I would say at the very least. Which again, that's still good. You know what I mean? Like 15 DC is still pretty decent. Like there's not in vanilla D&D, unless you're fighting like, you know, a super powerful like BBEG, there's going to be a number of monsters and enemies like will have a chance to fail a saving throw of 15. A lot of like items saving throw like DCs are usually 15 because that is a pretty, I wouldn't say like middle of the road. It's like almost like middle upper, right? It's like a 15 is like at the top of like medium difficulty, right? 16 or higher is usually when it starts to get hard. And 15 is like the highest you can go out, still being like average to like almost difficult. But with that, let's go on to the final subclass feature you get at 17th level. And I know, again, unfortunately, this ability, so freaking cool. And then plenty of people, I would hope, who would watch us will recognize the iconicness of this ability and maybe a lot of what it was inspired by, and maybe understand also why it's 17th level. Because it is unfortunate that it is 17th level, but you'll see why, because it's kind of ridiculous. At 17th level, you gain the Quivering Palm, the ability to set up lethal vibration in someone's body. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 3 key points to start these imperceptible vibrations, which last for a number of days equal to your monk level, which at this point would be 17 at the lowest. The vibrations are harmless unless you use an action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. You don't even need to be like within 100 feet of each other. You just need to be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the creature must make a Constitution saving throw, and if it fails, it is reduced to 0 hit points immediately. On the other hand, if it succeeds, it still takes 10d10 necrotic damage. You can only have one creature under the effect of this feature at a time, and you can choose to end the vibrations harmlessly without using an action. So let's just take a second, right? If anybody who in their life has ever seen even a small smidgen modicum of like, you know, Eastern movies, television about, you know, like martial artists, ninjas, cultivators, you know, whatever. Kung Fu movies, like you know this ability is iconic, right? The ability to just, and again, all this, you just have to hit a creature with an unarmed strike, right? So in my opinion, I feel like unarmed strike could absolutely like qualify as just being like, you know, you just like touch a person, right?
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you want to flavor it in such a way, you could take away the damage. You can just be like, oh, I touched them.
Yeah.
We'll roll the hit, like, and I roll, and I go like this, and then you don't take any damage. You're like, why'd you do that?
I just flicked them. I literally just flicked them like right on the shoulder or whatever. And you can activate this ability. And again, just for a minute with me. Just for a minute with me. This ability right here is why I also like I believe I've said this before, and I will say it as many times as I can. Sammy, like I have a dream. I have a dream. I have a dream of being a small little forest gnome.
Just a little guy.
A little guy, a good little guy who's facing an ancient red dragon, just an ancient gargantuan red dragon. His legendary resistances are gone. You know, he's kind of, we've been fighting a bit. My gnome just walks up, just boops him on the snout. You know, just a little nose boop, and then like just turns around, like kind of just snaps his fingers, and the dragon just falls dead to the ground.
It's great. Obviously,
like,
you know, there's the action economy that you have to be aware of.
I mean, it takes 3. It takes 3 key points, which I think is a fair trade-off, I would say.
And you have to hit with an unarmed strike.
You have to hit with an unarmed strike,
and then you use your action to detonate it. But the problem is, if you hit with an unarmed strike, you have to either use your action to attack. You can't use your unarmed bonus action unless you attack with your action.
It's true.
So,
and nor could you use your flurry of blows.
So you would have to do it as a 2-turn setup, which is still
but here's
ridiculous.
The thing. Well, even with the 2-turn setup, it doesn't matter because like your action,
you're hasted.
And you don't even have to be hasted because again, if they fail, they still take 10d10
Well, no.
necrotic damage.
Oh, 100%. What I mean is you hitting someone with this and then detonating it is 2 turns.
Yeah. No,
Unless you're hasted.
because that's also the thing, right? Because like you can you would still do all of your normal hitting damage and stuff in that round while you're
And then
setting this
next
up
turn
anyway.
they're just like,
and then next turn they just get sick. Next turn you can literally just be like, boom. And so it's like, again, you technically with this, you just get this extra bit of damage. And again,
it's only 3 key points.
10d10 it's guaranteed 10d10 if they fail.
So dumb.
And then if they succeed, if they fail, they're just done. If they fail, they're just out. Like, that's insane. Like, again, I don't know. I don't like this ability alone, like, tips the scales in a monk's favor exponentially. Like, if you had a 17th, like an epic level, like battle royale.
Yeah.
And again, to be fair, no, I take it back. You could do this multiple times in a fight.
Yeah. I'm checking something real quick now.
As long as you have the key points to spend, like, that's it. You could just keep quivering, palming everybody.
No, there's a fucked up way to do this.
Okay.
Sure. So
enlighten us, please.
Let's see. Get Boots of Haste.
Yep.
For your monk. You cast haste on yourself for the first turn. Your 1 attack action as part of the hasted action counts as an attack for your flurry of blows.
Oh yeah.
So first turn, you set up somebody.
Well, first turn you do 2 attacks. You get 2 attacks.
You get your 2
and
attacks.
You spend 3 key points.
And you can mark someone. Next turn, your action, 10d10 necrotic damage, or they go to 0.
And then you pop them again.
And then you turn around and go for someone else.
Yeah.
You don't even
if they're still even up at that point, like,
but like the reality is if someone hastes you, if you don't even actually, here's the even better part. If you have a wizard or a sorcerer that hastes you instead, you can do it all on the same turn.
Yeah.
You don't even need.
No, you could literally do that.
You can attack with
as the hasted action
or 2 unarmed strikes, and then 3, and then if it.
I mean, like, again, the hasted action is like, okay, you can do 1 attack. You can do the disengage dodge. You can do it interact with like item.
But
I feel like this would almost be like an interact with item.
No. You don't need it. No. The hasted attack action counts as an attack for your bonus action.
No, I know.
So but then you don't even.
You can only attack once. So again, if you could use your normal attack to attack twice,
it's not you can't do. It's
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, again, maybe like it could be like this is equivalent of interacting with a magical object, but maybe not.
So rules as written, no, because it's you have to use your full action.
Fair enough.
The haste allows you to give a round.
It would still allow you to attack at least twice, if not 3 times, with your flurry of blows,
and put that thing on every turn.
Yeah, and then you could still, again, with flurry of blows, knock them prone, push them 15 feet away from you, or just take their reaction
explode
and
their
run
insides.
away. And again, at this point, you could literally, if you take their reactions. Like, think about it. You could walk up to one dude, do the normal attack, hit him with the quivering palm, so like set that up. Then hit him with, if you're hasted as well, hit him with freaking flurry of blows, because you could just do that as a bonus action. Take away his reaction, maybe even knock him prone or 15 feet away from you. Run up to another dude and hit him with just a hasted strike. Next turn, activate quivering palm as the dude behind you like gets back up and is like running at you if he was prone, because he wouldn't be able to catch up to you at that point. You're a monk. You can run the freak away from him and he wouldn't be able to catch up to you. At that point, he's gone. He's out. You straight up just go. No, you could literally run over, hasted action attack another dude, stunning strike him. And if he gets stunned, oh my goodness, you'd be an absolute menace. It just wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's amazing. And keep in mind, this is 17th level. Everyone's amazing, but this is ridiculous.
But you just have the ability as a way of the open hand to shut down so many other people's stuff.
I mean,
if
to be fair,
stunning strike, and you'd be using a lot of key points depending. So you have to manage your key points.
Well, just get one of those items that lets you regain key points.
That would be helpful, but you still, like, again, you would be burning at least 4 to do like a turn to do both Quivering Palm and then also Flurry of Blows to then activate or whatever.
That's very true.
So then again, and then you'd run up, and then if you want a Stunning Strike, you'd be 5. So that would be, you'd be burning 5 key points around. At 17th level, you have 17 key points, meaning at that point, you'd only have 12 left. So you could only do that like a couple of times at that point. So you'd have to maybe choose whether or not you want to do Flurry of Blows, Stunning Strike, whatever. And Stunning Strike obviously has a chance to fail, especially at this level, like, because it's a con save for Stunning Strike. It's also a con save for Quivering Palm. But the thing about Quivering Palm, even if they succeed, they still take 10d10 necrotic damage.
And look, to be fair, by the time you get to that level, you're going to fight things that have like 500 health.
Yeah.
But you cannot deny burst ability there. And it's probably the most effective in pure combat as a monk compared to pretty much any of the other classes. There's ways to augment certain monks to be really good, but this one by itself is just like,
it doesn't need much else. It's like even if you don't even have those other items we were talking about earlier, like high level Way of the Open Hand monks, they're just deadly. Because at this point, you would be having a D10 for your unarmed strike.
Yeah, dude, dice. But throw a couple magic items in there, and you're
yeah, for sure. If you have something that, dude, God forbid, increases your movement speed even more.
That's what haste is for.
But that's what I'm saying. Something that gives you like automatic haste, or even just again gives you the ability to fly with your own movement speed.
Give him some wing boots and have a wizard cast haste on him, and he'll kill everyone.
He'll take everyone down, or at the very least, he'll set everyone else to be taken down. He can't be touched. He could literally just fly, but like literally a run by, just like
give him
haymaker.
Mobile. Go variant human, take mobile.
Exactly.
You never have to deal with anyone ever again. It's get him a robe of the robe of arachnid or whatever it is. Where now you're just running on ceilings. You're just running on ceilings, and you can fly with the boots, and someone casts haste on you, and no matter where you are, you get a ring of water walking, whether it's water, solid surfaces.
I mean, you don't even need
air.
the ring. You can just run across water at that point.
Kind of. The rules.
I mean, you can't stop on water.
Yeah, with the ring of water walking, you can.
You can, but again, you wouldn't need the ring. That would just be wasted on you, because you could at that level, you have so much movement that there's not a lot. Like, unless you're on a freaking ocean or a large ass lake, there's no body of water that you couldn't get across before stopping. And then technically, you could even say that like there's no reason why you couldn't like the Flash. Start running super fast on the water below you to kick yourself back up to start going across again after you fall inside of it. Like, there's a lot of fun things. It's stupid. Like, again, if you give a monk the ability to fly, oh my God, there's just nothing that anyone could do. You couldn't catch them. All right, I do want to specifically. I do again. That is basically the totality of the Way of the Open Hand monk in the tabletop version. I do kind of want to touch a little bit upon, again, people who are playing maybe Baldur's Gate 3. If you have been seeing it, once again, there is going to be a bit of a difference and discrepancy if you're coming from Baldur's Gate to the tabletop version. Because again, similarly to the Evocation Wizard that we talked about before, Way of the Open Hand is a bit different in Baldur's Gate. Specifically speaking, as Sammy and I in real time here just showed you, in the tabletop version, when you want to use your Flurry of Blows open hand, Way of the Open Hand technique, in the tabletop version, you can do that with either attack, with both of them. If you attack with both of them, you can inflict 2 separate conditions. Or even both, or even the same one twice if you wanted to. You could knock a dude 15 feet away, run up, and then knock him another 15 feet away if you wanted to. But in Baldur's Gate 3, you can't do that. In Baldur's Gate 3, when you gain the ability of your Way of the Open Hand technique, you get 3 separate choices that you can choose to do as a bonus action. You can either choose to topple them, which is knock them prone, stagger them, which I believe is specifically takes away their reaction, and then push them, which pushes them away. One other thing to be aware of in Baldur's Gate 3 is you can technically use your Flurry of Blows as a bonus action without having to take the attack action there. That is one aspect of Baldur's Gate 3 where you can just attack as a bonus action regardless of whether or not you took the attack action to begin with. That is not the same in the tabletop version of Dungeons and Dragons. Usually, whenever you want to use like a bonus action to attack, you had to have used an attack action to do so first. Like you would have had to like use your main action to attack, and then you could bonus action offhand attack or whatever. In Baldur's Gate 3, that's not the case. You can just use your action economy in whatever order at whatever point that you want, so long as you have that thing to spin. Which, you know, I like that. I think that's fine. That's cool. I think it does make maybe a little bit more sense, just logically speaking, where it's just like you have an offhand weapon. I don't really see the reason why you have to like have attacked with your good hand first before attacking with your offhand. That's never exactly made sense. So I'm usually also like in my games, I usually just run like, yeah, if you have an offhanded weapon, if you're dual wielding, then you can choose to attack with your offhand first if you want as a bonus action. Like, because again, it just never really made sense to me. I will say, if you have multi-attack, I also am of the mind that you can attack with either weapon. Like you can attack with the one weapon with the first attack, and then the offhand weapon with a second, and still whatever. You know what I mean? Because if you're ambidextrous, it's like you can still add the same amount of damage because you're hitting with the same force and skill. And then as a bonus action, you can just whichever one you chose to attack with, you would then use that one as the bonus action after that, whichever one was like the last to attack. That being said, at level 6, you get the wholeness of body ability, but it's a little bit different in Baldur's Gate 3. Not only do you get to heal 18 hit points, however, and also I don't think it increases. Does it, Sammy? I don't think the wholeness of body healing increases with level, does it?
No, it's the same. No, yeah, it does. It's the same as it is in the game. The healing?
Yeah, like
it's 3 times class level both ways. It's the same thing. Is it?
Wholeness of body, provide unique abilities. Because I'm not seeing it here, at least that specifically says it.
Are you looking at the wiki?
I'm looking at the Baldur's Gate 3 wiki. And like it just says like specifically that you just get 18 points of healing.
Let's find
but it doesn't say anything specifically about that increasing with your level.
Yeah. Wholeness of body, regain half your key points to enter a temporary state of wholeness where you gain 1 key point per turn and have an extra bonus action. Restores 3 times your monk level hit points.
Oh, all right then. Yeah. I for some reason it's not showing that for me here. Either way. So, but as maybe some of you have just noticed, the wholeness of body in Baldur's Gate 3, while it still also provides you healing specifically, it also allows you to regain half your hit point or half your key points, and then enter a temporary state of wholeness where you can regain key points and have an extra bonus action on top of that. So essentially, wholeness. Let's go ahead. Whoops. Hang on. I have to look up wholeness here so I can know the exact effect that it has. Snappy Doodle. Is that what I wanted? I think like from what I remember, like the wholeness trait literally like you regain like a key point every turn or something.
That's part of it.
Yeah. So essentially the wholeness allows like the wholeness condition that you can gain in Baldur's Gate 3 allows you. So not only do you automatically regain with that action, half your key points just straight up, which at this point would be 3 key points. You will then for the next 3 rounds or 3 turns, same thing, I guess, get at least 1 more key point as well as have an extra bonus action, which will allow you to do like your flurry of blows 2 times, meaning you get an extra 4 attacks for 3 turns. That's incredible. That is insane. And to be fair, I guess this might maybe also be their intention of like, for instance, because in the tabletop version, you can inflict 2 effects. Maybe this is also their way of allowing you to, again, inflict 2 effects again.
I think it was just something that it works. It translates, but they wanted to give it a little bit more
oomph, potentially. Yeah. Potentially, yeah, I could see that.
Well, because you look at like they did a lot of stuff with action economy in this game. Stuff like
it's
giving
a huge thing.
you know,
Extra
potions
bonus
of speed, the
actions.
extra bonus actions, stuff like that. So maybe it's just that's just kind of they thought, well, that's balanced because other classes can do stuff like that, or enemies have stuff they can do like
It
that.
could be. I
So
mean, I don't think not a lot of other classes like
no,
because there are items and obviously that allow you to do that, right? There are items that allow you to have like either extra bonus actions, extra reactions, or even like allow you to do bonus actions when you normally couldn't necessarily. And so giving this to an actual class is a thing. Maybe they like again, as the monk, it allows you to do some more like dope, crazy stuff. Either way, the extra 4 attacks. Again, at this level, you'd be doing a maximum, you could be doing a maximum of 6 attacks a turn with this ability, which is bonkers. That's crazy. Not even a fighter at this point could do that amount of attacks. Like even with action surge, let's see.
4.
12th level, I think they could, right? Like 12th level, they get 3 attacks.
Yeah, this
right?
is at 6th level.
Yeah, but this is
though.
at 6th level. So
Yeah.
like at 6th level, they're doing what a 12th level fighter in this game could do. And they would have to spend their action surge, and they don't get a second one at this point. They only get a second action surge, I think, at like level 16, maybe.
Yeah, they don't have they only
or
get
something. So even then, that you're able to do this for a max of 3 turns if you wanted, while getting key points back. That is crazy.
Yeah,
that's insane. And again, as you can tell, like it's a bit different from in the tabletop version. You only get wholeness of body, and it only does that. On top of getting the wholeness of body, this beefed up wholeness of body, you also gain the manifestation abilities. Specifically, manifestation of body, manifestation of mind, and the manifestation of soul. Respectively, body does an extra like 3 to 6 necrotic damage. Manifestation of mind does an extra 3 to 6 psychic, and manifestation of soul does an extra 3 to 6 radiant. These are specifically unarmed strikes, as a heads up. So anytime you deal any unarmed strike damage, which you will be with, like, your flurry of blows, you will just automatically be dealing, if you choose this option, this amount of extra damage, extra like elemental / what should we refer to like psychic damage as? Or even like necrotic.
well, none of
radiant
these
aren't
are elemental.
That's what I mean. Like they're not elemental, just magic damage. Then I guess it's not. It's their like. I mean, we could say they're elements, like in a sense.
They're not
like,
really though. It's more just extra magic damage.
Yeah,
and it's good,
but
it's
of a specific type though, because it's like magic damage is even like a +1 weapon, right? A +1 weapon does magic damage, but it's not specifically radiant. Like what would we refer to these as?
I have no idea. I don't consider necrotic, psychic, or radiant elemental.
That's what I mean. It's like it's not in the general sense, because they're not like, there aren't any like radiant, necrotic, or like psychic elementals. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't seem like accurate to say like elemental, but it's also like it's also not accurate to say just magic, because
it's like it's arcane damage. I guess you could say that. I don't know, but it's just extra damage you put. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it?
I mean, I guess not, but I guess this is something that's just been in my head for a while, and I'm like, I want something to better stipulate. Like, I mean, I guess maybe because like we have gym dragons now, and so it's like they all have that thing. Either way, whatever. Point being, you guys, you get 3 other separate like special magic like damage additions to your unarmed strikes now at level 6 at this point. And again, I think you guys do have to understand, like it does make sense why they did this, because the level cap in Baldur's Gate 3 is 12, right? You're never going to get to level 17, let alone level 20 in Baldur's Gate 3. And so they had to add additions to things, like aspects of the class, maybe like, in the tabletop, that would still be able to be applicable to the game, the video game, in the limited amount of not just like level, but time, right?
Yeah.
the tabletop version is specifically designed that you could go anywhere from like, you could do one shots that usually just last that one day and they're done, to you can make month, if not year spanning campaigns, right? Where people are playing for months to years at a time. And so, leveling up is a thing that, depending on your GM, can be faster or slower. That's just a thing. But it is specifically designed for usually longer stretches overall. Which is why, like, with this, they had to kind of shove a lot of stuff in there at lower levels to justify that, because otherwise it would start to get way too hard to balance, right? Especially with video game logic. Like, video games, because of their innate restrictiveness in programming, there's only so much that you can really reasonably do and accomplish in the game. Like, as opposed to a game that literally is built on your imagination.
And I think the reason they added this little like chip damage is because a lot of weapons, a lot of magical effects in this game, there's a lot of like +2 here, +3 there, +4 there, and like, it's not necessarily large amounts of pluses, but you get enough of them together and it's legitimately dangerous. Which is something that like I find interesting and fun.
It is,
and it makes for
cool.
some pretty fun character builds, way more like a video game as opposed to a tabletop game.
I mean, and there is an intrinsic difference. Is like, again, that's kind of the reason why I'm trying to draw these parallels, right? That's why we're talking about both and we're comparing the two, because again, what me and Sam have heard a lot, in the community is, people kind of coming in with the mentality of trying to play a tabletop like a video game, right? And it's not the same thing. And there's a reason why it's not, because again, in a video game, as I just stipulated before, like, video games have a very strict set of rules that cannot be broken in order for it to even be a thing, right? Computers are designed like they have that thing where it's like, these are the rules. And while there might be ways of being flexible, of building off of that to create super cool stuff, right? Things that we can't even accomplish in real life. It's also just the very nature of it that things can only exist within this specifically very rigid set of instructions and rules and bases, right? Whereas in a tabletop, like we said, it's your imagination. It's literally only limited to what you as a group choose to be the rules or restrictions. You can actively retcon events that have just happened. You could turn back time. You can literally change the entire, landscape to be whatever you wanted to, if you wanted to. You can change the rules. Like, that's why in tabletop there are rules. There are, like, baseline foundational rules, but everybody, again, you as a group are the ones to decide how much you really adhere to them. I think me and Sam both agree that, in our personal opinion, how we like to play is we do like to we like to follow at least the set bit of rules that make sense, because we also like, rules provide restrictions, and we like restrictions to a point because that makes it more fun for us. It's fun to find a way to kind of utilize those rules and restrictions and still get what you still make the effect that you want to happen, within the confines of those rules. But the reality of it is, with TTRPGs, is you can't necessarily just do whatever you want either. Like, if you, again, like, for instance, in like, again, Skyrim is always usually the default choice. You run around in Skyrim, you start unaliving, all the NPCs in that game, right? In reality, that's not necessarily going to have a huge impact on stuff. Like,
no,
so long as you already completed like missions ahead of time, and like, you got the items or whatever. Like, you might lose out on certain quests if you unalive certain NPCs, before you complete them. But once you complete them, you unalive them. The guards might run up, right, and be like, hey, but you could just unalive them too at that point if you're strong enough, right? You could do all of that stuff. You can just grind and become the most powerful being literally in that game world. That's the point of that, right? The point of a video game is that you can just you are the main character, you are the protagonist, and you can become, and you don't really have to share that light with anybody else, and you just become the most powerful thing. You can basically just do whatever you want, and then even then, you know, you do have the option of like reloading a save, right, to basically make it like, hey, that never happened, right? Whereas in a TTRPG, you can do that, but a lot of the time people don't want to, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the time people don't want to just say like, well, that didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
You can retcon, but it is a very rare thing.
It's few and far between that actually happens, and even fewer and far between that it happens for good reasons. Retconning is kind of a taboo, although we have talked about before.
Yeah, and then it's
both of us agree that if it's necessary, do it.
If it's really necessary, you should do it more. Like again, the overall goal is to enjoy and have fun with this game. And if retconning is going to be the only real way that you can really make that happen or get back on that path, then do that. But a lot of the time they won't. For instance, so again, as we just draw that parallel, we said before, like in Skyrim, when people just like to go around and murder hoboing, you know, NPCs, you do that in a tabletop RPG, it's not really going to function that same way, right? The GM isn't going to be like, oh, well, they just come back alive now and everything is fine or whatever. Like you start doing that, the whole point of it is to have that immersion, right? In a tabletop, you're trying to establish that immersion, meaning your actions have real consequences. It's not a set, and they have consequences because it's more so like you and the party, like you as players and the GM usually builds their world much more around you guys, at least in my opinion, if they're doing it right, right? Some GMs, excuse me, might have just like a really preset thing that they're doing and they just want you to go there, and we call that railroading, right? Where the GM is just like, this is what we're doing, this is what's happening, whatever. A lot of people aren't huge fans of that in the TTRPG community. I feel like it's okay to have a little bit of railroading because I feel like, again, it does keep people on a path and it keeps them, you know, in my opinion, I feel like it helps people stay engaged and keeps things from flying too far off the handle. Sometimes you need to have a little bit of railroading to keep things running smoothly and to still have a purpose, because otherwise things can maybe get a little ridiculous. And at that point, you're just basically playing, you know, pretend with your friends doing whatever they want, right? Basically like, I do this, I do that, I do this. And it's like, well, okay, we're no longer really creating a cooperative narrative together anymore. We're just saying stuff. But that being the case, you know, a lot of the time the GM is going to create and mold their world around you and what you and the party does, like the choices you make. And because of that, your choices have much more weight. Your actions have much more weight. Meaning, if you start acting like a homicidal psychopath, you're probably going to get, at best, locked up. At worst, they will take you out. You know, the guards aren't just going to stand for that. You can't just basically be like, well, I'm the main character, I can do whatever I want. And if things get too bad, you know, they'll take me out and then the game will reload, right? And you'll be back to the point where none of it ever happened. But that's not how that works in a TTRPG for the most part. Like you can't just do something and then expect for all of your actions or whatever to just disappear magically or whatever, and then everything is fine because you got, you know, you wanted to let those intrusive thoughts of yours run wild for a bit and expect there to be no consequences. The point of a TTRPG is that there are consequences, but it should be specifically that those consequences should only come about if you are being unreasonable, right? Because as a result, you can have both good and bad consequences, right? The good consequences should come from you making good choices, smart choices that make sense, that are reasonable, that are providing again, more immersive environment for your players and even for the GM, right? I feel like, again, any GM worth their salt, if they put in time and effort and work into this game, if you are showing interest in the world and you're trying to interact with the world and learn about the lore and the NPCs, that GM, that should be a compliment. That should make your GM feel good, right? And if you're just running around, just, you know, destroying like everything, like just being chaotic and crazy, that's just a straight disrespect to your GM who spent all this time making this. You're literally just spitting in his face. Like,
as someone who perpetually plays chaotic neutral and chaotic good characters, there is a way to do that and still be respectful of the world your GM creates.
Sure.
And I do that. I don't mess up people's stuff. If anything, my chaotic nature more comes into play when it's like I'm focusing on that person that you never thought was going to be a character for the rest of this story, and they're my best friend now.
Yeah, there you go.
I think there can be something to be said. Like, I like, the attitude of people who play games and they're like, I want to be the most powerful. I want to do this stuff. Look at all the cool stuff I can do. That's not a bad,
it's not
like, feeling to have. And like D&D
like,
can fulfill that feeling in a sense of like, look at all the cool stuff we're able to do. But the key word is we. It's all of you. And so like doing things at detriment or doing things just because, I feel like doing this is not really an excuse unless you are at a table with people that you've played with for years and they know that your shenanigans are character based and not over the top. That's fine. If you're like, yeah, my character was a pickpocket, so when we go to bars, I'm gonna pickpocket people. That's fine. But maybe don't do it every waking moment of every day.
And not just that, but like do it. If you're saying he is a pickpocket, then that means that he should at least have some semblance of intelligence on how he picks pockets, right? You don't just go to a place and be like, I'm just going to start picking everyone's pockets.
No,
like
something bad happened. I'm going to take this opportunity while people are distracted to grab something.
Yeah, or be like, oh, hey, that guy looks particularly like rich and maybe like a bit of a douchebag. Yeah, I think I'll take his pocket real quick and see maybe what he's got in there. Like, you don't start just taking pockets from everybody, just being like, I just want to roll die. I just want to see if I can just steal everybody's shit.
I think one of my favorite things to do is include your DM in these things, is where it's like you walk into a bar, I'm like, all right, what's my mark? You look at your DM like, what looks interesting? That's one of those things where you're giving,
ask your GM like, hey, can I roll a perception check to see if there's
don't even ask that.
Like,
don't even ask to roll. Just be like, what looks interesting to me in here? And if they want you to roll, they'll tell you. We've talked about this before. Don't roll if you don't have to.
Sure.
I love that. You sit at a bar, you're just like, who looks interesting to me? Who do I want to fuck with today? And that's okay. That's the fun part. But that's the difference between it being a video game where you're God.
Here's another thing too to maybe touch upon in this particular topic would be the concept of like doing what your character would do. Right? That is, I'm gonna let you know now, y'all. That is considered, that is a serious, we've talked about it before, we'll talk about it again. It's a serious taboo in the TTRPG community to say it's what my character would do. The irony of it being is that it is not in and of itself a bad thing to say.
Yeah, it's about the context of
it is about the context, and it is about the reason, because the issue being is that people have abused this phrase, right? People have abused this phrase in the sense of they do something like we just described, like they do something that's completely just ridiculous or dumb, stupid, doesn't make any sense, doesn't in any realm of real reason have any application here. And the player themselves is trying to make the excuse of like, well, I did this because it's what my character would do. And it's like, again, that's why I stipulated before. It's like, if you're going to be like a pickpocket, right? Like, because again, I've done that before. I've had rogue characters who are like, they are roguish. They are like, they like to kind of mess around with the upper crusts kind of society in terms of like, their pompous ego and whatever. And he likes, it's like, hey, small little victories. I'm going to pick their pocket. I'm going to like relieve them of some of their jewelry or some of their gold and stuff like that, because that's an aspect of his character. That is. And he feels, he's like, they can afford to lose it. Like, they don't really care about this stuff. They'll just get another one. And if it bothers them, then all the better, because they're assholes who don't have any real semblance of life or struggle anymore. But there's a difference to that in terms of like saying that is what my character would do, because that makes sense. And he's not even actively harming anybody or anything by doing that. And in fact,
disrupting the table.
No, he's not disrupting the table. He's putting himself maybe at risk by doing this, because if he gets caught, then that might be a problem. But he's not actively. I'm not stealing like from the party. You're not stealing from your fellow players. You're not like actively like going up to like, if you're like invited to the audience of a king, like, even though my guy doesn't like nobles, he's not going to try and steal from the king himself.
Yeah. The real difference here is one of these things is you saying it to yourself in your head. This is what I would do. This is what this character would do. And having to say it out loud to other people as an excuse, that's the faux pas.
if you're playing a character correctly, the people at the table are going to see why you were doing the things you're doing.
Or at least they should. You know what
And
I
if they
mean?
have a
Like,
question, you can explain to them, like,
yeah,
hey, you know,
this
is
was
what
my thought process.
Yeah,
this
is
you know,
exactly, you know my character. What do you think? Like, does this seem out of line? Because if they're asking that question, it's okay to genuinely ask back, am I out of line? But the
Yeah.
reality is when you have to start making cases for yourself, is when most likely you've lost the plot a little bit. It's not a good habit
even
to
like
have.
if or even let's say even better, right? Let's say like if the only so-called excuse or the only like response you have to a person asking, why did you do that? If the only response you have is, well, it's what my character would do. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? If you cannot like expand upon that, if you can't expand upon that and be like, okay, well, why? Why would your character do that? What could possibly in your backstory or anything else that has happened motivate your character to act in it? Because again, here's the thing, right? To be fair, people in real life as well react and behave in all manner of unreasonable, ridiculous, crazy ways, right? All the time. People have emotions. A lot of the time, they might not be able to function or process those emotions, and they react unreasonably in the moment. That's fine. That's okay. That happens. That's real. And it can add immersion. It can add realism to the game, and that's great. You can have flaws like that. But you have to, again, have a reason for that. Because you as a player, you are controlling this character, right? You are the one that made this character, this person. You created their entire persona, fabricated their entire life. So you know why they would do the things that they would do. And so therefore, if you don't have a reason for why they did what they just did, for real, then that shows that you just didn't really care. You just did something because you were bored or because you wanted to screw things up or because you just wanted to throw a wrench to it to see what happens, right? That just shows you were just being selfish right there. You were being selfish and you just wanted to, like, again, cause some mayhem and ruckus because he thought it would be funny or a troll or a meme or whatever the hell, right? That's a problem. That is, in essence, why you should not say, well, it's what my character would do. If you're going to say it's what my character would do, then you need to back that up with actual reasons and facts for why your character would do this. Because again, we'll use the same example as before. Like you're meeting a king, right? Who calls you in for an audience to like acquisition your party for a job of some sort for whatever reason, right? And you know, you have a rogue or a warrior or barbarian who gets angry upon seeing the king and they like run up to try and like unalive the king, right? They run up to try to take the king out in full, you know. You have guards all up and down everywhere, right? And he's just gonna run up and try to take the king out. Like, why? Why would you do that? Why? Like, what? Again, it's like, you know, if a guy says like, "Well, it's what my character would do," you know, he's like, he hates the nobility, he hates the king for what the king did to his people or whatever. Like to maybe he subjugated my people and turned them into slaves or something or whatever. Okay, all right, that's a legitimate reason to hate the king. However, do you really, if your character who really wanted to get vengeance on this king, do you really think that right now would be the absolute like best way of handling that? Does that make any sense? Do you think like does anybody in their right mind believe that attacking the king right now with full guards all up and down the room, not even talking to your party members about this beforehand, you just see him and you're going to rush off to just try and kill him like right now? Do you really think that that would work?
Yeah.
Like, do you really think that that would succeed? Like if you want vengeance, then why wouldn't you choose to do the best way of getting it, right? You would choose to go down the route that would get you the best possible chance of taking him out, right? Do what he wants for a bit. Gain his trust. Get him to lower his guard. Find a time maybe to get him alone or however, and then take him out, you know? Because that even then, that could still provide some amazing kind of like story beats. And like, again, you tell your party about it. Be like, look, I'm sorry. This king was evil or messed up or whatever, like from my backstory, like, and again, it's something you talk with your GM about, okay? Your GM knows this and understands this. You can't just automatically, retroactively choose to have some beef with this king. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you have to talk with your GM about this. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I just made the choice in the moment that my character hates that king now, and this is what's happening. It's like, no. If that's the case, then yeah, you know what? Talk to your GM. Ask him, hey, would this work? Would I be able to have this relationship with the king maybe? Because maybe the king's actually a good person. That's another thing. Maybe the king's a good person. If you choose to just hate the king because he's a king and then you go to like take him out, that's also still not, you don't know him. Maybe he's been doing the best. And that doesn't show why you even care or have a reason to dislike or hate the nobility. Right? What
Yeah.
is your reason? What is your reason? And that, in essence, is why that's a problem in the TTRPG community, where people are like, hey, it's what my character would do.
If you have to say it out loud like that, it's usually a bad thing.
Or at the very least, if you cannot provide any more explanation than just that. If all you're going to say is it's what my character would do, then that shows that it's not what your character did, it's what you did. Your character didn't do that. It's what you chose to do. Because in essence, you choose what your character feels, does, and whatever. You were the one that could have made a character get along with the party to whatever, but you chose not to. Your character didn't choose to do that. You did. But either way, we went off on a bit of a tangent there. Moving back on specifically to the subclass discussion of the Way of the Open Hand for Baldur's Gate 3. At 9th level, you gain the ability known as Key Resonation. With Key Resonation, it's essentially like a super toned down watered version of the Quivering Palm that we talked about for the tabletop version, right? With Key Resonation, you can hit a creature with your unarmed strike, and you can make the key in its body resonate with yours. And then as an action, you can make the key explode with the ability known as Key Resonation Blast. It does like the Key Resonation Punch does like an extra D8 of bludgeoning damage or whatever. And then the blast itself does an extra 3d6 of force damage. And unlike Quivering Palm in the tabletop version, you can do Key Resonation on multiple targets and enemies at one time. And then once you activate the Key Resonation Blast ability, it can literally set off a chain reaction where it will literally detonate all of them to do extra damage to not just them, but anybody within 5 feet of them as well. So that's pretty cool, not nearly as cool as Quivering Palm in my opinion.
But they can't do that.
But they can't do Quivering Palm. Again, Quivering Palm, 17th level ability again, it's a literal surefire, knockout ability where if they fail, they're just done. And if they don't, they take 10 necrotic just automatically. And so like that would be a bit much in a video game, right? It's like that would just be like, good Lord. So they took that though, because again, Quivering Palm is arguably the coolest feature. And barely arguably. It kind of almost is undisputedly the best, coolest feature of the open hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the TTRPG version. And so they took that and they made it, a bit more like very watered down, much less powerful, a little bit more manageable, and they added it here, which is cool. It's nice to have that and to be able to still utilize that to a certain extent. And then finally, at 11th level, you get the same ability, Tranquility. Which again allows you to once per long rest have access or get an automatic sanctuary spell on you. And for those of you who are unaware, Baldur's Gate 3, the spell Sanctuary functions a little bit differently than the TTRPG version. Specifically in the tabletop version, Sanctuary is a spell where you basically cannot, you can be attacked still. However, any creature that looks to attack you specifically has to make a wisdom save to beat, whatever the DC is of the sanctuary in order to successfully attack you. If they fail the wisdom saving throw, they either have to redirect their attack to another creature within range of their attack, or they just lose the attack altogether.
Yeah.
And that spell just lasts, I believe, for either a minute or an hour. It might be an hour. And it affects the entire thing. Obviously, again, area of effect attacks, for instance, doesn't apply. Like if you get hit with an area of effect, and this applies to both types of Sanctuary in Baldur's Gate 3, as well as in the tabletop version of Dungeons and Dragons, the creature can still be affected by area of effect stuff. However, For the Sanctuary as well, in the TTRPG, you are able to, as we said before, you can like buff up your friends so long as you don't take the attack action, deal damage to anything, or cast a spell that affects an enemy, your Sanctuary will stay up. For Sanctuary in Baldur's Gate 3, one of the biggest main difference is you are unable to target that creature at all with an attack. You cannot attack a creature that is under the effect of Sanctuary in Baldur's Gate 3. Like, you don't have, it's not about making a save. You just straight up cannot target them with an attack. Again, they are still affected by area of effect, but the attack action is essentially non-activated. I think another thing, otherwise, I think it technically functions the same way at that point. Let me just go ahead just to be certain. Sanctuary, Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, so description: you or an ally cannot be targeted until you attack or harm a creature. So essentially, you could like same thing as in the tabletop version. You can buff yourself, you can buff your friends, do all of this stuff, and you will not lose Sanctuary. And you just straight up cannot be targeted until you attack or harm a creature. So it functions in the same way, except for the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 is slightly more powerful, and that almost nothing can really be done to a creature who has Sanctuary unless you have like a spellcaster or like a grenade or something that can deal splash or area of effect damage. Which is a little bit annoying. Like, there's been more than one enemy in the game where like they had Sanctuary that I was just like, for the love of God, like, you can't, like, there's just no way, like, again, because certain, like, most of your party, not most, depends on your party composition, but if you have, again, fighters, anybody who just, again, attacks and doesn't have any area of effect spells, they effectively can't even do anything to them, which is annoying and frustrating at times. But that being the case, that is in essence the totality of the Way of the Open Hand Monk for both the TTRPG and the Baldur's Gate 3. Again, as you can probably tell, there are similarities. Obviously, the inspiration that Baldur's Gate 3 took is there, clear as day. But they obviously also, due to just the nature of the difference between video games and TTRPGs, they added some creative liberties with it to make the class a little bit more interesting, powerful, and effective. Which is cool. There are a number of aspects of this that I like, that I appreciate about Baldur's Gate 3. But those of you who might be experiencing D&D for the first time, like through this, and looking to come over to the tabletop version, I just feel like it's important to highlight the differences to manage your expectations better, so that you can have the most optimal fun experience of both, because they are fundamentally different experiences overall. But yeah, I would say with that, I think the last segment of today's topic and video would be the subclass that maybe we have a not so fond disposition towards. Sammy, did you have one that you wanted to talk about a little bit? I believe that.
Yeah,
I think you've talked about before. You've highlighted, and then we'll finally kind of get into it.
It's the worst one. This goes on record as included with Purple Dragon Knight as the worst class.
I mean,
this is Path of the Battle-Rager, and it came from the
Warlock
same book too. Just to remind everybody, I'm pretty sure this came from the same fucking book where they just put out garbage for no reason.
What is it? Sword Coast Adventures? No.
Yeah, it's a terrible book.
I mean, Sword Coast, but they also brought Blade Singers, though. So.
Exactly. That's what I'm.
I mean, Blade Singer was the best. What are you talking about?
No, Path of the Battle
class.
Path of the Battle-Rager. It's known as, well, there's a Dwarven translation, but translated back to Common, it's called an Axe Idiot, which is wonderful. They are dwarf followers of a god of war and take the path of the Battle-Rager. They specialize in wearing bulky spiked armor and throwing themselves into combat, striking with their body itself and giving themselves over to the fury of battle. Now, I don't like race-specific subclasses. I find it a little bit pigeonholing. I understand why
Sure.
this was, because it really is like the flavor of it's awesome. I love it.
It's
If
tailored
you're
very much to
if
dwarven
you know, if
stuff.
you're familiar with Warhammer Fantasy, this is Slayers, ostensibly. They take an oath. There's like this
Yeah.
big deal. But so they have a restriction for dwarves only. It says the DM can change that. Battle-Rager armor. When you choose this path at 3rd level, you gain the ability to use spiked armor as a weapon. When you are wearing spiked armor and are raging, you can use a bonus action to make 1 melee weapon attack with your armor spikes against a target within 5 feet of you. If the attack hits, the spikes deal, give it up for 1d4 piercing damage. Use your strength modifier for the attack and damage rolls. When you use the attack action to grapple a creature, the target takes 3 piercing damage if your grapple check succeeds. Now, let's talk about this for a second. Spiked armor, it's 75 gold. It's an AC of 14 plus your dex modifier, max 2. Has disadvantage on stealth checks. So here's my problem. You are pigeonholing a barbarian, which gets unarmored defense, unarmored movement, into a shitty armor. At level 3, this is better than your normal armor. Like you're unarmored, sure.
Yeah,
But you're giving
probably.
up movement. You're giving
Probably
up
better.
movement speed. Your stealth is at a disadvantage. One of the cool things about barbarians is that they're not bad at stealth, even though they're a frontline giant dude with a big axe. Because most of the time, they're not wearing any armor.
They're not wearing armor, and not just that, but it's like your AC with unarmored defense is specifically tied to both dex and con. So it's like you'll probably be increasing both your strength, dex, and con, to get a decent amount of not just health, but AC. They have danger sense, which also helps with their dex saving throws. Like they've got dex-based stuff. So
this armor, while cool in flavor, completely eliminates unarmored defense and unarmored movement from the barbarian's repertoire.
I mean, they should have just said that it functions. It does not affect like your unarmored movement.
It should be like a spiked harness, some sort of spiked,
like a pauldron. It should be like a pauldron that's like
it shouldn't be a full thing of
no,
armor.
No.
So that's already bad.
Dumb.
Also, because they're non-magical, so unless your DM makes your own custom item, you're always going to be stuck with the shittiest armor.
That's not good.
Let's continue. Level 6, Reckless Abandon. Beginning at 6th level, when you use Reckless Attack while raging, you also gain temporary hit points equal to your con mod. They vanish if any of them are left when your rage ends. That is the only good ability in this class. The only good ability is the fact that you can get temp HP every turn by recklessly attack.
Yeah.
Then again, you are more likely to get hit because you're recklessly attacking, but that doesn't really matter.
I mean, you should be anyway. Like you'll be having that damage mostly, so it's like having some extra, just getting basically endless, bonuses of stuff while you're raging is helpful.
I know, but let's keep it going.
But
Battle-Rager charge at level 10. It's gonna get even better. Don't worry, Adam. It's great. You can take the dash action as a bonus action while you're raging. When you wouldn't have to do that if you didn't take away their unarmored movement by making them wear stupid armor. Just a thought, just a real thought there, wizards. I know you don't like to talk about this subclass, the same way you don't like talking about Purple Dragon Knight, but it's here. I'm looking at it right now. And then let's not forget level 14.
I mean, to be fair, if you take the armor off, you would then get your unarmored movement and also this. You don't need the armor.
But then half of your abilities wouldn't do anything. Because let's go to 14th.
Really want them to do anything.
Here, 14th level. Starting at 14th level, when a creature within 5 feet of you hits you with a melee attack, the attacker takes 3 piercing damage if you are raging, aren't incapacitated, and wearing spiked armor.
I'm pretty sure there's a feat that just does this. I'm pretty sure
it's the worst
thing. I'm pretty sure you can just take a feat that allows you. No, wait. It's not that the attacker, it's not the attacker takes 3 piercing. You just take like 3 less damage because of it's like heavy armor master or something.
Yeah.
That's
so good, dude. It's so good. Like, there's definitely a good
That's a 14th level ability. That's the capstone ability of this subclass. The attacker takes 3 piercing damage.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's so good, dude. It's so good.
That's it.
I struggle
That's a
to understand.
level ability.
Like, so no offense to them, but when this came out, I believe the only other options were Berserker and Totem Warrior
yeah,
for the other.
I believe.
So you could either
Totem.
be the best barbarian.
It was either Totem or wait, where did
Totem.
Ancestral Guardian come from?
That's way later.
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
it was Totem.
It was Totem, Berserker, and then
Battle-Rager.
Battle-Rager.
So imagine you're playing D&D, you want to play a cool barbarian guy. Your options are the best one, which is Totem, at the time. Berserker, which is cool flavor and still pretty decent, or the worst class in the game.
Even Berserker is pretty bad, bro.
But I still like the flavor of Berserker, and there's some parts of Berserker that are really good.
Yeah, well, the main part is pretty damn bad, honestly. Like,
just have someone with greater restoration. I don't know.
Yeah, just have someone with greater restoration and use up on almost every fight. Like,
just don't fight more than once a day.
Yeah. That's easy. That's real easy, Sam. We'll do that. Especially as a barbarian, he's gonna fight.
You just get your endless rage, and you just never stop being angry.
Oh, that sounds healthy. That sounds really healthy. All right,
not about being healthy, Adam.
It's about being toxic.
It's about killing people.
It's about being toxic. It ain't about winning. It's about being toxic. Making that dude hate the freaking life. That's a bad one. That's a really, really bad one. Yeah.
Isn't it super cool,
for sure, dude. You know what?
Do we want to talk about its counterpart really quick? Or do you have one in mind?
I mean, I had something, but let's talk about its counterpart. Sure. Let's get into that a little bit. Why not? Screw it.
Do you want to have the honors?
By all means, please do.
Wait, just to make sure, we're talking about Purple Dragon Knight, right?
I mean, I think we already talked about Purple Dragon Knight a bit. Like,
I don't think we ever went over what it actually does.
Okay. Look. I mean, no, I think we did. I think in the original class episode on fighters, we talked.
I mean, I talked shit. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember going over it, but that's fine.
Okay, we'll save Purple Dragon Knight for another one.
We'll do it another time. What's your counterpoint to the barbarian? Now I'm curious.
Well, I'm okay. So, like, again, I think we talked a little bit about this before. I just want to touch upon it again. You always reference like Purple Dragon Knight and even like Battle-Rager as being the worst.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so hard for you to say that when we talked about this before, and that is the Undying Warlock.
Yeah.
That is the Undying. You seem to forget.
Guess what? Wait, real quick. Undying Warlock and Long Death Monk were both also in that.
Yeah. Weren't they? Yeah.
Oh no.
The only good class to come out was the Blade Singer class. Okay.
Why is this the worst book?
This is like, but again, I'm pretty sure we already talked about this, like. Ooh. In the previous class episode, to be fair, but I feel like, you know what, we went through Battle-Rager so quickly. Let's just really quick go over the Undying Warlock again, because I also have there's another one too called the Undead Warlock, which is a little bit weird. But either way, the Undying Warlock, death holds no sway over your patron, who has unlocked the secrets of everlasting life, although such a prize, like all power, comes at a price. Once mortal, the Undying has seen mortal lifetimes pass like the seasons, like the flicker of endless days and nights. It has the secrets of the ages to share, secrets of life and death. Beings of this sort include Vecna, Lord of the Hand and the Eye, the Dread Lulz, the Lich Queen, Vol, the Undying Court of Arenal, Vlaakith, Lich Queen of the Githyanki, and the Deathless Wizard Vistandantalis. In the realms, Undying patrons include Larlock, the Shadow King, legendary master of Warlock's Crypt, and Gilgeem, the God King of Unther. All super cool, like flavorful names and characters in the lore for sure. Let's really quick just go over the actual mechanics of this subclass once again, because I don't know if we went super in depth about it. Expanded spell list. The Undying lets you choose from an expanded list of spells you learn from your Warlock spells list. You get, at first level, False Life and Ray of Sickness. as your bonus spells that you just get. False Life and Ray of Sickness, Sam.
Oh my God, so bad.
Second level, you get blindness and deafness and silence. Whoa, oh man, watch out! You're gonna maybe deafen or blind someone. The blindness and deafness maybe could be nice. You know what I mean? But yeah, it could be. Blinding somebody could be nice, but then they get they get to make a Constitution save at the end of each of their turns, and then if they succeed, it's done. Silence can be okay in certain circumstances, but you have to use someone a warlock spell slot for that. So
I see. My problem is silence is good if you're not the one that needs to use spells.
Exactly, and it's also concentration. So that's another thing. Hey, third level, dude. This is when things get good, right? We're talking third level. We're talking about fireball. We're talking fly, lightning bolt. We're talking haste, slow. Oh, they get feign death and speak with the dead. How many spell slots do warlocks get at third level, Sam? Two? Just two? Wait a minute. Hang on. No, it's just two, Sam. It's just two.
Is it just two? I was right?
Yeah, you're right. It's just two spell slots, Sam.
I did it.
Yeah, no, I was being sarcastic. Like, yeah, they get two spell slots at third level. And their extra spells they get are feign death and speak with dead. Now, speak with dead could have been nice, if they allowed them to do it maybe as like a ritual or something. Feign death, you will almost never ever use this spell. There's almost no situations that you will ever come across where this spell will truly be helpful or applicable at all. Like, just none. Speak with dead.
There's one thing you can do.
Oh,
the one use for this spell is you can ostensibly prolong the life of someone who is very sick. So if you need to transport someone who is very sick, this is
You're right.
This is a great way to do that, because any disease or poison affecting them doesn't do anything while they're under. So if you need to transfer someone that's like diseased, like if there's some sort of weird plague going on, that's a cool use for the spell. Will you ever do that in a D&D game?
Also,
probably not.
Also, it only lasts for an hour. It lasts for an hour, and that's it.
You just have to keep doing it. You can't. You have two spell slots.
Yeah. You have two spell slots. You also might as well just take like lesser restoration to get rid of that poison.
But you can't if you're a warlock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Somebody else should just do that. You should just have a paladin, and then they could get rid of the disease or the poison. They don't even need to spend spell slots. It's just five of their lay on hands.
They just need to be second level.
Yeah, they just need to be second level, and that's it. That's it. At fourth level, things are getting spicy. Too spicy for the pepper, maybe.
Well, fourth spell level, not fourth level in the class.
Yeah, you get spell level. You get fourth level spells specifically. So at this point, you would be, I believe, seventh level at least when you get fourth level spells.
Could you fake your own death with this?
No,
you can. It's not concentration.
I mean, feign death, yeah, because it just lasts for an hour. So you could just choose to cast this, but it requires both verbal, somatic, and material components to do this thing. Yeah, and so it's like, it might be kind of hard to be like, he killed himself. Oh boy, that's yeesh. Boy, took himself out. But yeah, you gain fourth level spells known as Aura of Life, which is okay. It's all right. It's a concentration spell, so at least you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck for the spell slots. It's a life preserving energy that radiates, from you in a 30-foot radius. Each non-hostile creature in the air, including you get resistance to necrotic damage, which arguably you should maybe just have naturally as an undying warlock. But okay, you also get it to each non-hostile creature in that radius. And your hit point maximum can't be reduced. That's okay, right? You also any non-hostile creature that's alive regains 1 hit point when it starts its turn. The aura with 0 hit points. So if you're dead, you go over and they heal for 1 hit point, and then they'll probably get knocked down again. But that's something.
It's so good.
I will say they do get Death Ward. Death Ward is probably the best spell that they get in this whole thing right here. Death Ward is actually helpful because it just gives you a literal ability to just not die once, like once a day, right? You specifically, you touch a creature that grants them a measure of resistance to death. The first time a target would drop to 0 hit points as a result of taking damage, the target instead drops to 1 hit point and the spell ends.
The cool part is that second bit.
Yeah, if the spell is still in effect when the target is subjected to an effect that would kill it instantly without dealing damage, that effect is instead negated against the target and the spell ends. So, like, for instance, if it's like a power word kill, you know, power word kill wouldn't affect the target then.
Nope.
And neither would, like, for instance, like a finger of death or or disintegration. For instance,
yeah, it's awesome.
You would still take the damage, but it wouldn't be.
It wouldn't disintegrate you.
Yeah, it wouldn't disintegrate you or turn you into a zombie.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
but guess what? You don't need to be an undying warlock to do that.
No. And you, again, it lasts for 8 hours. But you at this level will only have, I think, at a most of three spell slots. Three spell slots. So you'd basically just be a 3rd level warlock again, because you'd have to use this spell to then, or you could use this spell and then short rest. You could do that. You could use
it's
this
8
spell.
hours.
Well, it'd be 7 hours, and technically you'd lose an hour. So it'd be a 7-hour death ward instead of the full 8 hours. But that's okay. You could do that. You could potentially
only if your DM lets you.
Yeah, you could potentially do it for 3 people, right? You could death ward, all 3 of your spell slots, and then short rest to get them all back, and that could be helpful. That actually is legitimately something. You get 3 death wards. And then I guess you could do it again after that hour. You could go death ward again on other people or your friends, and then short rest again. And then you'd have 6. And then some of them would have 7, and the others would have 6 hours. Yeah, that's something. But you know what? Let's go ahead and when you finally get 5th level spells, which I believe is at like level 11 or level 12, you gain contagion. You gain contagion, which no one ever uses contagion.
The way you said that,
no one ever uses contagion.
No one ever does that.
It's just so unlikely. No one. And then legend lore.
No one ever uses contagion.
You get legend lore. You get contagion. Why legend lore? Because you're undying. You live for so long. Not with these abilities, you don't.
Oh, you know, the best spell in legend lore.
Oh god, legend lore can be cool, but again, you have 3 spell slots. What are you? It takes 10 minutes to cast. Like, just let the wizard do it. I think they get it as a ritual spell. I could be wrong, but I think wizards get legend. They could get legend lore as a ritual spell.
Legend lore.
Oh my goodness! Why would they do that? You know what?
So you know what's the even more insulting thing is that there is a better undead warlock, because there's the undead warlock, which is a better version of the undying warlock. Let's we're gonna start going over their cool.
Let's get to their abilities real quick, their features, because that's really where, I mean, dude, these spells
shine.
These spells
shine
are
in these
like mid to absolute garbage. So you know what? Forget the spells, right, you guys? It's got to be their abilities. They're like, they must have given them such dog water spells because their abilities are ridiculously OP. Okay, let's get into it. So, starting at 1st level, dude, 1st level, you get this right away. You get Among the Dead. You learn the Spare the Dying cantrip, but counts as a warlock cantrip for you. You also have advantage on saving throws against any disease. Wait, what? There's no how. Sammy, how many diseases have you encountered in your D&D games? How many
was in Shalt.
How many D&D games? For how long have you played again?
Well, we've been playing for like 6 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I've encountered as similarly, I think, 1 disease in my career.
And that was only because it was a pre-written, it was a Tomb of Annihilation game.
Yeah, no, same. I encountered 1 disease in a game that I played, my first ever game. And it was basically like dispelled almost immediately due to like a Deus Ex Machina thing or whatever, because it was like an uber powerful disease that happened because we like released some kind of like ancient mummy lich or something, and then we like instantly were cured of it anyway, because it was like disintegrating our skin or something. And it never happened again. We never had a single other disease. I don't think I've ever encountered any other disease at any point at this point.
I think there's one in Strahd too.
You know what's interesting? Among the it doesn't even, you don't even get immunity. You just saving throw.
Advantage.
You know who gets immunity to disease at third level? No, is it just maybe at second level maybe? So second or third level, that's paladins. Paladins,
They don't have
immune.
immunity. They just
they do.
They can cure it.
No. They're immune. They're straight immune to disease, Sammy.
Not at second level.
Yeah, second or third level, they are just straight immune to disease.
Now you got me looking at fucking class features.
Yeah. They are just straight immune.
No, fuck, it's third level.
Yeah, straight immune, third level. They are straight immune to disease.
All right. But there's a second part to this one. Here,
and they can cure disease with their lay on hands on top of that.
That's whatever.
So
they
don't have to worry about it, and they can just get rid of that.
No. Paladins are lame. Let's talk about
Paladin. Yeah. So continuing, we didn't even finish that. We didn't even finish that first thing. Additionally, you guys, undead have difficulty harming you. If an undead targets you directly with an attack or a harmful spell, that creature must make a wisdom save against your spell save DC. An undead needn't make the save when it includes you in an area of effect, such as the explosion of fireball. On a failed save, the creature must choose a new target or forfeit targeting someone instead of you, potentially wasting the attack or spell. On a successful save, the creature is immune to this effect for 24 hours. And an undead is also immune to this effect for 24 hours if you target it with an attack or a harmful spell. So we've been talking about the Sanctuary spell a lot today.
This is the worst version of it.
And this is the worst version of it. Specifically because
no, it's not. It's not worse.
I mean, it's
free, and technically, if you were to hit just one guy in a group of guys, all of them would have a hard time hitting you except the one guy you hit.
Except if they succeed on the save, and then it doesn't matter. At that point, they can just do it as much as they want, as opposed to the actual Sanctuary spell, which every single time you attack, you have to make the save again.
Yeah, but Sanctuary doesn't let you attack anyone.
It's true, but you can still buff and support your friends as much as you want. Whereas with this essentially has no effect. You attack it, it's done. You are attacked, it's done. So essentially, it just doesn't even really matter. Maybe if you have a horde of undead, this could be slightly helpful, I guess. But at that point, you also might want to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna run away. I'll just run away, and it'll be better anyway. But this is just like, it has nothing. If you're fighting one giant undead, this does nothing.
Okay. So it gets even better, but it gets better. Like the next one is even better.
Defy death at 6th level. Wow, this is the second ability at 6th level. That first one was just first level. You don't get anything else. Okay, sure. 6th level. You can give yourself vitality when you cheat death or when you help someone else cheat it. You can regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your con modifier, interestingly enough, when you succeed on a death saving throw or when you stabilize a creature with spare the dying.
You can't use this again until you finish a long rest.
You can use
By the way,
once.
all warlocks get the next ability at 6th level because of all the other stuff they get. But yeah, it's bad. So once a day, you can stabilize someone and give them a little health so they're not unconscious, but with not enough health to make a difference if they get hit again. Or you can do that for yourself.
And it's specifically, it's not even your charisma, which should be the highest. It's your con of all things.
Your con. Your con should be decent too, but
it should be okay for like concentration. But again, arguably, you're gonna want to be going charisma, dex, and then con probably, because
or just charisma and con.
I mean, well, because you want to have like a decent because again, as a warlock, you should have. I think you only have access to light armor, unless you're a hexblade warlock.
Yes,
you only have access to light armor, meaning you want dex to increase your AC. You would, and as well as maybe some other stuff because again, you also want dex because you're probably going to be fighting with finesse weapons.
Yeah,
because you have such low spell slots.
Well,
aside from your
first of all, you don't have to fight with any
weapons because Eldritch Blast. But
I said cantrip, but still, maybe if you want to switch some stuff up, you know what I mean?
No,
and not be a one-trick pony.
But don't worry, it gets better.
It gets even better. And again, I just want to Sammy stipulate it. I just want to stipulate it one more time. You can only do this once. A long rest. You can defy death once. A long rest. And that's
so
it.
Good. I'm not seeing the
Starting at 10th level now, you get the ability known as Undying Nature. You can hold your breath indefinitely, and you don't require food or water or sleep, although you still require rest to reduce exhaustion and still benefit from finishing short or long rests. However, in addition, you age at a slower rate. For every 10 years that pass, your body ages only 1, and you are immune to being magically aged.
I want to be an elven undying warlock.
Oh, no, you don't.
Who lives for like 4,000 years.
No, you don't. You should be an elven druid who would live for like 8 to 10,000 years.
No, I don't like.
No, because you know what? You know what's hilarious? As an elf, you don't need to sleep.
It's too green.
You don't need to sleep, so you just lose out on one aspect of that ability as an elf. You don't need to sleep as an elf.
It's too green.
You should just be. Why don't you just be a warforged? Warforged don't need food. They can breathe indefinitely. They don't require water.
Too green.
Or
I'm just want to let me be creepy.
Too green. A warforged is too green for you.
But the fucking druid thing is.
Oh my god!
Right,
just
go back.
Be a warforged.
Last
Indestructible
one.
life at 14th level. You partake of some of the true secrets of the Undying. On your turn, you can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d4 plus your warlock level.
1d8 plus your warlock level.
1d8. Excuse me, 1d8 plus your warlock level. Additionally, if you put a severed body part of yours back in place when you use this feature, the part reattaches. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Lord almighty. This is a 14th. This is the capstone subclass feature at 14th
it's so
level.
good though.
To be fair, the Battle-Rager is worse, but
it is.
This is just like you just okay.
But I want to put my arms back on.
Okay. So at max, to be fair, once a turn, you can use a bonus action to regain hit points. So it's like you at 20th level, you could potentially gain 28 hit points back.
Okay, wait, but when was the last time you had a body part severed in a D&D?
Never! It's never been a thing. It never will be for the most part, unless your GM is horrible.
There's an injury table in 5e.
Yeah, no one uses that, Sam, ever. Unless they're being horrible. Unless you're playing a very specific game, you will almost never, ever lose a limb. Like, unless maybe your head gets cut off by like a Vorpal sword, but then you're done. You can't reattach that. I mean, it says severed body part, so maybe could you recapitate a decapitated head?
No, I don't know, because you need your head to be able to cast spells.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Well, but it's not a spell. It's just, hey, use a bonus action. I don't know, man. I feel like probably not. And if that's the case, this has no application whatsoever.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool if your head got cut off and you could just put it back on.
Yeah, if you put it back on, it's like, I use a bonus action. Yeah. But here's the thing. Would you then be alive again, or would you just have your body just wouldn't be decapitated anymore? No, I'm a
Dahalin or whatever it is, the horse guy with the head that he carries around.
Oh my god. Okay. To be fair though, you could get 28 hit points back at 20th level. Right, currently you get 22 hit points back. You know,
yeah, I mean it's hit points.
Potentially. You could get anywhere from 15 to 22 hit points back with this, which as a bonus action. Which,
okay.
You can only do it once for a short rest or long rest, but that's still something, right?
Just real quick, just to put it out there, most warlock abilities aren't that fantastic. So
I mean, I don't know. The Ginny warlock is pretty.
Ginny's
great.
Okay.
I mean, Ginny's awesome, dude. Are you kidding? Celestial warlock's pretty great.
Celestial's good.
You know. Hexblade's pretty badass.
Hexblade's like the best one. But the reality is like a lot of the abilities for the warlocks are not super busted, overpowered, top tier shit.
Well, no, like a lot of them aren't busted over
So
the top.
this
except
class,
for the genie.
like,
Kind of
to
is
be,
actually.
can
The
I
genie
can I
kind
be
of-
real with you? This would be just as effective as a Great Old One Warlock. It's this. It'd be just as effective.
Great old ones.
Is bad.
It's not great. You're not wrong.
Arguably,
but
it's bad, but I love it.
They get dissonant whispers, Tasha's laughter,
Oh,
detect
yeah, but
thoughts.
what's
they
the
get
Warlock
clairvoyance
expanded?
and sending.
Did
They
Warlock
get-
get an expanded spell list?
Yeah, they got dominate beast, Evard's black tentacles. They get dominate person and telekinesis. Like those are all decent. Like
Yeah.
for the most part, you at least get one decent spell.
I still
Your
like
extended spell
if
list.
you're just playing a blaster, if you're just using Eldritch Blast, you'd be just as effective as a Great Old One.
You get the ability to speak telepathically, like just
That's
straight
good.
up. That's great. That's a first level. You just get that first level. That's a great first level ability to have. You can
Yeah.
just speak telepathically at first level as part of your class. Like that's awesome.
That's why I love it.
You have a feat now and some other stuff that can do that, but they don't need to share a language for it to understand.
And this one's better. The feat isn't as good as
it's 30 feet, which is awesome. Entropic Ward. You can, when a creature makes an attack roll, you can use a reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack. So
once a day.
Yeah, until you finish a short or long rest. So you
Oh,
can
so for short rest.
Yeah, which you probably would try. If the attack misses you, your next attack roll against the creature has advantage if you make it before the end of your next turn. So you essentially, once per combat, can grant disadvantage. It's like you get a free silvery barbs, basically, which is that's decent, especially again since you get it back at a short rest. Like you're gonna be trying to do that anyway if you spin your spell slots. So you should be probably getting that back almost every combat, ideally.
I mean,
Thought shield. Your thoughts can't be read by telepathy or other means unless you allow it. You also have resistance to psychic damage. And whenever a creature deals psychic damage, that creature takes the same amount of damage that you do. That's pretty good. Like, again, it's very situational. If you're fighting like, a Lithid or any other aberration, like, that's great. Like, this is very specifically tailored, but still getting a resistance, and not just resistance, that person takes psychic damage equal to what you took. And then finally, create Thrall. You gain the ability to infect a humanoid's mind with alien magic. You can use an action to touch an incapacitated humanoid, and that creature is charmed until a remove curse is cast on it. Like, that's crazy. You can communicate telepathically with a charmed creature as long as the two of you are on the same plane of existence. Undying, or rather the Great Old One, these are all pretty decent abilities that can be applicable and synergized with the Warlock.
I take back what I said.
Undying has nothing that really helps in any way, shape, or form. It's just god awful in almost every way, shape, or form, except the fact, at level 14, you can maybe heal between 15 to 22 points of health. And then it goes up, to a maximum of 28 at 20th level. That's about it. Otherwise, your defy death doesn't really matter. It's not, because again, unlike the Grave Cleric, Spare the Dying for you still gotta touch that mother effer to use Spare the Dying. So you gotta run over, use your action to touch them to spare the dying, and then you'd be able to roll a 1d8 plus your con modifier, which probably isn't gonna be super high. Probably, we'll say maybe we'll be generous. We'll say 3. We'll be generous. We'll give them a 3. So it'll be 1d8 plus 3. So maximum of 11. You'd give them 11 hit points. Or yourself 11 hit points if you succeed on a saving throw, right? That might be nice. You go down, which with this subclass, it's pretty likely you're gonna go down. You get a chance to come back, with 11.
Just what
11
level?
hit
What level
points.
is this?
This
level
is 6th level. Yeah, you get this
okay.
at 6th level.
I just want to check something real fast.
But you can't do it again until you finish a long rest. So you get like one. You get one thing. You get one.
So just I want to put this out here real quick. Just so you know, paladins at level 6 have a pool of 30 hit points.
Yep. Yep.
To give to people.
Yep. Oh, I'm aware. I'm playing a paladin right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. And then the Undying Nature. Oh, yeah. You don't have to hold you can hold your breath indefinitely. You could be an air genasi and do that. You don't require food, water, or sleep. You could be either for sleep, you could be an elf. For all of this, you could just be a warforged. You can be a Warforged. Get all of that for free, and then be any other class that would be better than this one. And in addition, you age at a slower rate. Has no effect mechanically speaking in a game. There are so few things in the game that are going to age you. Oh, hey, maybe if you fight, some of the specters or the banshee that we talked about before, like you fight one of those that like ages you, right? So that would work. How often do you fight ghosts, Sammy? How often have you fought a ghost in a campaign?
Maybe twice.
Yeah, I think I fought mine twice, like once, maybe twice at that. This is garbage. This is steaming hot garbage.
It's bad. That book is quite
there
possibly the worst addition, except for like they added Swashbuckler.
They added Swashbuckler. They added again Bladesinger. Like Swashbuckler and Bladesinger are incredible subclasses. Like they are again arguably they are arguably one of the best. Like Bladesinger is arguably the best wizard subclass at this point. Swashbuckler is one of the best rogue subclasses. Hang on. You know what? I just want to really quickly I just want to check out Sword Coast. I want to see all the things that they added.
It added Battle-Rager.
Sword Coast. Where are
you?
Oh,
Arcana Domain Cleric.
Oh, I mean, at higher levels, Arcana Domain.
I like Arcana Domain anyway because of the spells it gets. Purple Dragon Knight.
You get dope. So yeah, let's see.
Way of the Long Death Monk. We love Long Death Monk.
Yeah, we love the Long Death Monk so much.
And Sun Soul. Both of those were added.
Okay. Hang on. They also added the Totem Warrior.
No, it was a double print.
Oh, okay.
Some of these are double prints.
Gotcha.
Totem Warrior is in the same thing.
Okay, gotcha. So they added the Divine, the Arcana Domain,
Oath of the Crown, which is fine.
Wait, the Circle of Swords? What?
For what?
For druids. The fuck is this?
Oh.
Okay, that it's not an actual druid circle. It's
no. It's just
That's weird. What the hell? We're in classes. Why are we talking about something that's not even actually like a?
Because they were adding weird extra flavor. Because that's what they
dumb.
It is. It's not a good book.
Okay, so yeah, they added Way of the Long Death and Way of Sun Soul. Way of Sun Soul is
fun,
okay,
but it's not good.
I mean, it's better than the Four Elements was. Like a lot of people are like, this is just a better fire version of the Four Elements, because Four Elements is terrible. They added Oath of the Crown, which is not great. It's okay. Nope. It's okay. They didn't add anything for Rangers. Okay, they added the Mastermind and the Swashbuckler and the Swashbuckler. Okay. Like Mastermind is all right. They added Storm Sorcery in this one.
That's what I'm trying to check right now. Again, they double printed so much.
Oh yeah, okay.
I need to know Sorcerer's Origins.
Yep, they added the Undying Warlock.
It was Storm Sorcerers from that book.
Okay, so Storm Sorcerers are all right.
This is Draconic and Wild Magic.
Yeah, Storm Sorcery and then Blade Singing for Wizards. So the only real the decent, so they added, the Storm Sorcerer, the Blade Singer, and the Swashbuckler. Those are
and Mastermind.
And Mastermind Rogue. Those are the four that are actually.
Do me a favor, just because I want to keep shit talking. Click Rangers for me.
I know. I already did.
Why?
There's
what is the point? Like, I bought this book from a used bookstore, and I was like, I had the best time reading it. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Look at all this flavor. And now I'm looking back, and I'm like, thank God I got that book for like $6.
Yeah. You lucked out having to not pay freaking $30 to $40 for this thing, because it was
20. 25.
Right. Even it's a small. I think that then they knew then that's a straight up admission of guilt right there, that they were like, yeah, this isn't even worth, like,
yeah, this is bad.
Except for Blade Singer, Mastermind, Swashbuckler, and Storm.
And I'm pretty sure some of these like Swashbuckler was in Xanathar's.
Yeah,
they took shit from here and put it in Xanathar's and updated it.
Yeah,
this book is legacy.
Yeah,
It doesn't
no,
even half
it's
of
not
this
even
book isn't even
it's
real.
not even really applicable. Yeah, it's not even applicable
It's awesome.
anymore.
I
Like,
love it.
you know what's great too? It's like
It's so dumb.
I feel like maybe they had the idea of like we need to balance this out real quick, right? We need to go like we're gonna make some of the subclasses absolutely redonkulous,
Yeah,
right?
'cause,
We're
like,
gonna
okay, just for I need
yeah. No, I'm in
Xanathars,
Xanathars now too.
Way of
Yep.
the Sun Soul. Okay. Swashbuckler
We
and Mastermind.
we have Swashbuckler and Mastermind
and Storm Sorcery.
Yep. Wizard only has
Why?
War Magic, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Well,
But
they've gone fucking ham for Wizard after, but like, so they made a shitty book and then remade a better book later on and included stuff from that book, which they then updated. It's dumb. These
yeah, I need to
classes,
check-
some
I
of
need
these
to
classes
check
are
the-
terrible.
Yeah,
and
no,
there's
they're utterly horrendous.
it's
I need
it's
to
like
check.
real
I just
life-
want to I want to check the player's handbook real quick because I want to see like what were the baseline original
yeah.
things.
I've
here?
looked through that so many
Like,
times.
What were the baseline original primal paths? So yeah, for the player's handbook, you got Berserker and Totem Warrior. That's it.
Yeah.
That is all you got.
For Bard, you got Lore and Valor.
Yep. Lore and Valor. I love Lore. Honestly, love Lore. Valor's
Valor's
right.
also good, to be fair.
Yeah, for clerics, you got a lot of the domains. You know, you got knowledge, life, light, nature, tempest, trickery, and war.
Yeah,
all pretty decent. Yeah, no, clerics and wizards both had like their original 8 domains. They always had
Druid,
the
you only had Circle of the Land and Circle of the Moon.
Yeah, no, and again, Circle of the Moon still arguably the best. If not one of the best. And again, honestly though, I still love Circle of the Land. I do.
I mean, hey,
I like Circle of the Land because it is the spellcaster class for druids.
Yeah.
Fighter, you had champion, battlemaster, eldritch knight. You know,
fine, solid classes, I guess.
Yeah, champion. Well, champion, not really. Champion's not. Champion's not. It's not a good. It's not a good subclass. Champion's not a good subclass.
No, not by itself.
Which makes it a bad subclass. Like you can't. For the monk, for the player's handbook, you got open hand, shadow, and 4 elements. So basically, everything you see in Baldur's Gate 3 as well. These are just the 3 just baseline.
Same thing with Paladin.
Classes. Yeah, Paladin. Same
Devotion,
thing.
Ancients, Vengeance. It's all what you would find in
Vengeance
the game.
is wait. They had Ancients was the. I didn't even realize Ancients was.
Ancients was an OG.
I didn't even realize Ancients was an OG. That
you can't tell by the abilities.
I mean, but no, wait, hang on a minute. Hang on. So resistance. I mean, yeah, because this is actually good. Oath of Ancients is good.
I'm gonna put this out here. You can tell which classes are old by reading their abilities.
I mean,
the wording changes as the newer scales come out.
You're not wrong. Yeah, the wording changes, but it's also just like a lot of the older ones are usually the most like kind of baseline, dreary, like without.
But not
like,
always.
This is exactly. Which is like I thought Oath of the Ancients was like Xanathar at least. Like,
nah, man.
That's all right. Yeah, they knew what they were doing with paladins. And
we're getting into a good one. Don't worry. It's Hunter Beastmaster.
Sure. Yeah. We don't. You know,
Hunter Rogue is Thief, Assassin, Arcane. That's
yeah. No, Rogue had the Thief, Assassin, and Arcane. Like Assassin and Arcane Trickster were
Sorcerer,
both good.
Sorcerer had the good one and the bad one.
Yep.
Which is Draconic was good and
Draconic
Wild
was
is bad.
good and Wild is really bad, and Warlock. Warlock specifically had
OG. Archfey Fiend, old one.
Yep. Archfey and old one.
Yeah.
Or Fiend, Archfey, and old one. And then Wizard had all like, you know, the 8 schools of magic.
That's it. Like there's not
yeah. So and what's hilarious too was Sword Coast Adventures Guide was like the next one that they came out with, right? After the player's handbook, like that was like the second like iteration.
Yeah.
And so those were all like the new shit that just came in, right? The first additions to 5th edition, I believe.
This is the first accessory book.
Yeah, and then I think Xanathar came out after that.
Sword Coast, Xanathar's, Tasha's.
Yeah, even before that it was
Mordenkainen's, sorry.
Mordenkainen's, I was gonna say Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. So it was Player's Handbook, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, Xanathar, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and then freaking where's what is that effer's name? He's in Baldur's Gate 3. This Volo's Guide to Monsters. That was it. Yeah, it's right here. It's right here. Perfect. I have it all. Yeah. Player's Handbook. Then obviously you have the basic rules, Dungeon Master Guide, Monster Manual, Sage Advice. We have Sword Coast, and Volo's Guide to Monsters was after Sword Coast. Then it was Xanathar's. Then it was Tome of Foes. Then it was Guide to Eberron, Ravnica, and then Eberron Rising from the Last War. Then Mordenkainen's Fiendish Folio. Either way, Tasha's came way later on. But essentially, like, the OG, like, was Sword Coast, was Player's Handbook, Sword Coast, Volo's Guide, Xanathar, and then Tome of Foes. Was like, that was kind of all of that stuff. Like, and then when Xanathar's came out, oh my god, Xanathar changed everything, dude.
Yeah, I love this. I looked it up. I was trying to look it up, and my favorite reaction is it's like a part of a review. Should I buy, or how is the Sword Coast Adventures Guide? It's got a very mixed bag of mechanical offerings, from pretty cool Arcana Cleric to the dumpster fires that are Battle-Rager and Undying Warlock.
And Purple Dragon Knight.
Yeah. You know,
I don't know what they were smoking, bro. It's like they were like, I feel like they were like, they had something like ridiculous. Like they were smoking something real hardcore at first. And when they were at that high peak, that's where they made like the Blade Singer Wizard. That's where they made the Swashbuckler and Mastermind Rogue, right? And then they started coming down, right? They started coming down, and they were like burnt the hell out. And that's where they started making the Purple Dragon Knight and the Battle-Rager and the Undying Warlock.
Like the issue I have as well is like, these are traps.
Dude.
They're trap classes.
Hang on a second. I think we did this in the original class discussion, but I also just want to talk about, again, you have the Undying Warlock.
And then you have the Undead Warlock.
And you have the Undead Warlock.
Which is just better.
The Undead Warlock is just a better Undying.
It doesn't, like, to be fair, thematically speaking, it's the same theme. The abilities are not the same. It's definitely like a different.
I mean, even the flavor is still, they use literally the same types of freaking
pretty much, yeah,
of patrons. For this one, you have a Demi-Lich, a Sararak. You have the Vampire Tyrant, Kaz, the Bloody Hand. You have the Githyanki Lich Queen.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But it also shares some of the abilities. Like, just for context, here's one that's way better. It's Grave Touched. Your patron's powers have a profound effect on your body and magic. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. Cool, we love that.
Yeah, that's 6th level.
In addition, once during each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack roll and roll damage against the creature, you can replace the damage with necrotic damage. And if you're in your Form of Dread, which is like a passive ability, you can roll 1 additional damage die when determining the necrotic damage the target takes. Which means the first time on your turn, when you hit someone with an Eldritch Blast, you roll 2d10.
Yeah.
That's huge. That never goes away.
At 6th level, it would already be 2d10. Meaning
now you get an extra d10.
Yeah, then you would add 3d10 already. Like that, and that just gets stronger as you get higher level, bro. Literally, as you continue to go, Necrotic Husk, your connection to undeath and necrotic energy now saturates your body. You have resistance to necrotic damage at 10th level. If you are transformed using your Form of Dread, you become immune to necrotic damage. In addition, when you would reduce to 0 hit points, you can use a reaction to drop to 1 hit point instead and cause your body to erupt with deathly energy. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you takes necrotic damage equal to 2d10 plus your warlock level, meaning you're going to get a baseline of at least 12 points of damage at this level, if not potentially 30 points of necrotic damage. You then gain 1 level of exhaustion, which, okay, honestly,
first level's fine.
Yeah,
it's just ability checks.
And once you use this reaction, you can't do so again until you finish 1d4 long rest. Like, again, I like that.
The 1d4 long rest sucks, but
it does. Like, 1d4 long rest is a bit like a lot. But again, this only happens if you're reduced to 0 hit points, and then you can use your reaction to then do this. So it's only if you choose to do this as like a last resort, like explosive measure. This doesn't even have to be the case. You could literally just like you and again, you still just passively get the ability to have resistance to necrotic damage if immunity in your Form of Dread. That doesn't go away. Just this ability here, which you can choose to do. And then your final ability, which is spirit projection, you can literally just like use astral projection essentially. Like,
but you can attack people.
yeah,
You can do
you
everything.
get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing.
You can cast a spell. It doesn't require verbal somatic components if it
It has to be
is
from the
necromancy or
necromancy. Yeah.
Okay, even better. You get flying speed, and if you're using your form of dread, when you deal necrotic damage once per turn, you can regain hit points equal to half the amount of the necrotic damage.
You become like a ghost.
Yeah, for an hour, you're like really good.
You become like a literal ghost at this point. Like you're like a vengeful spirit. Like it literally says your spirit can become untethered from your physical form. As an action, you can project your spirit from your body like freaking, Doctor Strange. The body leave behind is unconscious and in a state of suspended animation. Your spirit resembles your mortal form in almost every way, replicating your game statistics, but not your possession. So keep that up for debate. Any damage or other effects that apply to your spirit or physical body affects the other. So your body would be, vulnerable. Your spirit can remain outside your body for up to an hour or until your concentration is broken, as if concentrating on a spell. That part is a little crappy because again, if you take every time you get hit, you would then have to make a concentration check to stay outside your body. Otherwise, your spirit will return to your body, or your body magically teleports to your spirit space. Your choice.
You know what I would do? You just have a friend with a bag of holding, throw your body in there, boop. It just teleports right out, and guess what? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, because you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, so you could stay in the bag of holding indefinitely.
Like you could literally, if you got like Warcaster, pumped up your con really good, dude, resilient. Like you literally will not lose concentration on your spirit projection.
Yeah,
and your body's in a hole.
Yeah. Well, even then, both your spirit and body gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So you just get free rage at that point.
The only problem is you do take damage to both forms when you take damage.
That's what I'm saying. It's like your body would also technically take that damage, but it's still
you're still in a better form. And not to mention, like, the whole time you're doing this, if you're in your form of dread, you can frighten people, which they'll be less likely to hit you.
Well, you can move through solid objects.
Yeah,
you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed, can hover. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. Like, you become like those specters and ghosts we talked about on Halloween. Like that is just crazy, bro. Like that is it's not crazy, but it's still good. And it's again, they are by far a better Undying Warlock. They have way more stuff. Again, they get Death Ward, greater invisibility. They get anti-life shell, cloud kill. They get Phantom Steed, Speak with Dead. See, they have all the same aspects of an Undying Warlock, and yet just everything better at an earlier level.
Yeah. It's again, we just went through a whole nother class, even though we weren't supposed to.
That was a bit of a bonus, I guess. There you go. We did it specifically, and we're not honestly. We probably would never really talk about the Undead Warlock. I think at any other point, unless it was
play one at some point.
We're just going down the line of subclasses to discuss.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about it, specifically just to highlight even more so how bad the Undying Warlock is in comparison to they literally just made a better version. They didn't even fix the one like they did with like Beastmaster Ranger or anything.
Which they didn't technically fix Beastmaster. They just added optional features to take away,
which still fixes it. They didn't even add optional features to the Undying Warlock.
I still think Beastmaster's trash.
It's still bad. But they at least did something, was what I'm saying. They still did actively give you abilities. I mean, they're not even just Beastmaster Ranger. They just gave Ranger in general.
Yeah, they just fixed Ranger. They made better Ranger classes and then fixed Ranger.
Well, they fixed the Ranger class as a whole, which just helped the subclasses as a whatever.
When Xanathar's first came out, Ranger went from one of the worst classes to one of the best with the addition of Monster Hunter, Horizon Walker, and Gloomstalker.
Yeah, dude.
Which left the original two in the dust like crazy.
Yeah,
and then they buffed Ranger as a whole on top of the subclass that they added. Like, Ranger's now a good class. It was never a good class. Like OG Ranger sucked.
No,
Like,
no, it wasn't. It was so bad. It was so bad.
I mean, look, any
It just-
character
it just
that you give a
offered
bunch of magic
nothing.
items to is fine.
Well,
You look
yeah,
at like
obviously.
Vexalia from Critical Role. Any
Yeah.
character you give a bunch of shit to them, yeah, they're gonna be good.
She got a lot of badass. She got an
got a
oath
lot of
bow.
things.
She got you know a vestige of divergence. Like
They
but
had to give her a
they
crap load of
had
stuff.
to give her items
Also,
to make her
Trinket
viable.
was way. He
Well,
got buffed way more than the
kidded.
original.
I mean, well, not just that. They kidded him out.
Yeah.
Even then, they didn't really.
He
They
still
didn't
sucked.
use him. Yeah, they didn't use him ever because again, the
would
biggest
just
part of
die.
it too is if he would die. Like they literally had to get him like this necklace that would hold him in there.
Yeah,
and
the
then
Pokeball.
they would barely even use him
No.
then because he would just die. And even if they increased his AC, it's like it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't
No.
worth it.
So now you have the dragon worm, the worm, whatever.
The Wyvern Guard, I believe it's called or something. Yeah.
Whatever. But okay, that's enough for that. But yeah, now you've seen a bunch of horrible shit.
Yeah, and it like this, and in conclusion, don't play the Undying Warlock.
No,
Don't play
and-
the Berserk. Don't play the Battle
Rager. Now, if you do want a fun read, though, if you can, there might be a PDF or two on the internet
of the Sword Coast
Adventures Guide. Just give it a quick look see.
Give it a look over. Why not?
It's awesome. It starts with all this wonderful roleplay stuff and then completely devolves into garbage. It's great.
It just get like I'm telling you, whoever
it's
wrote
Horde
that,
of the Dragon Queen bad.
Whoever wrote that, like they took like some crazy shit and were like at the zenith. They were just my god, I have so much inspiration, and they just the crash is hard.
Adam, it's simple.
Like,
whoever wrote that book also wrote Horde of the Dragon Queen. It must be the same author because both those books were garbage.
Yeah, no, Horde of the Dragon Queen, then Rise of Tiamat. Like
Rise of Tiamat's a little bit better, but Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Well, they technically added shit to fix that too. Actually,
yeah. So the original, but Horde of Dragon Queen's still the same on D&D Beyond. It's garbo
because nobody gives a crap about Horde of the
We ran
Dragon
it
Queen.
Twice.
Why would you do that?
Because we ran it originally in our first D&D campaign, and then my Tuesday D&D campaign, he ran his own modified version of that campaign.
Okay, well, modified, yeah, there you go.
When I say modified, it's heavily modified.
Yeah, but there you go, y'all. That in essence is our takes.
Next time you got to bring a new character. Make sure you and your buddy bring a Battle-Rager and an Undying Warlock, respectively,
and a Purple Dragon Knight.
Make it
the trifecta, bro. Complete the trifecta.
Terrible classes.
We want you to I want stories. Again, here's the thing, right? I have a buddy who played a Purple Dragon Knight in a game, right? And it was okay. Like again, we had to supplement by giving him a lot of magic items, similar to like Beastmaster Rager. But some of his abilities were all right. His ability to like give us some temporary hit points. He got, he would make us food.
You know who else can do that? Glamour Bard.
Yeah. Or freaking the Zealot Barbarian has an ability that helps with that.
Yeah.
It's bad. Which would help us heal. And
your own point is devolving in front of you. It's awesome.
The fighter, the Purple Dragon Knight, and
we're both sick. This is bad.
The battle, the Battle Master can just give you the ability to attack with the Purple Dragon Knight with using one of their
rallying cry.
It wasn't just rallying cry. What was it? I think it was like they could expend a use of their.
I don't know, dude. I can't read.
Action surge. I don't know.
Oh yeah. They could use their action surge, the one ability that makes fighters special. And they're like, hey, use this for a dumb reason.
Yeah, it's like they could use it to like allow other people or something also to attack or something. I forget. It might not be that bad, but it's something that bad. Oh God. Yeah.
Inspiring surge.
Yeah.
When you use your action surge, you can choose one creature within 60 feet of you that is allied with you. That creature can make one melee or ranged weapon attack with its reaction. Oh, you're not you still use your action surge for you.
Yeah,
that's
so you
fine.
Still use it. Like that's decent. It's okay.
You can extend a benefit
it's not
to an ally.
It's not
that's
great.
Good.
Yeah, it's not great. It's okay.
It's still not good though.
Yeah. It's like, Bulwark, it's like that, yeah.
So my problem is Rallying Cry Inspiring Surge,
Like I
and
said,
Bulwark. That you
Purple
have like
Dragon
one
Knight
or
is okay. Like
but you'd
it's
only
not
have
bad.
like one of uses of any of these things.
I agree. Like it's not great, but
you
it's
get
not
one
it's,
use
it's,
of Second
it's,
Wind, a short rest.
It's not bad, you know.
You get one or two action surges per short rest. So at most, you'd use Inspiring Surge twice for short rest.
And so
Every other fighter now has like 18 different abilities he can use four times.
The issue being is that it has to be a weapon attack too. So it has to be like it has to be a person who's within 60 feet of you that has a ranged weapon or a melee weapon, which again is okay. Like, you know, we had a barbarian or me as a blade singer, you know, it was like it you know, it was okay. You gain proficiency in the persuasion skill at 7th level, you know.
You have 0 things to augment your damage.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. They are not a damage class. There's an attempt to basically expand them out to being more role play focused with all of this. You know, they're supposed to be more charismatic rather than actual like damage.
I'm gonna play a Purple Dragon Knight.
Please do. Again, like
play one.
It wasn't the worst from my experience. To be fair, again, we were playing epic campaign, so it was like we started at level 3, I think. And then we went all the way up to level 20, but we also we like to supplement by giving a lot of magic items. We gave free feats here or there depending on the situation to make people more powerful. But even with that, you know, it's like his abilities worked, kind of. He's not the worst, okay? He's not worse. The Purple Dragon Knight is not worse than the Battle-Rager, all right?
No.
There is no way to make the Battle-Rager good. Yeah. You could actually at least make this decently viable.
You could play an Undying Warlock and not be useless. Battle-Ragers are actually
Undying Warlock is basically just a Warlock with no subclass, really.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is basically the same as like the freaking Battle-Rager or the Champion, for instance. Like the Champion fighter is basically playing fighter without really
the only way Champion's ever good is when it's a dip into fighter, so you get a reduced crit.
Yeah, literally. All right.
I love
that I think we're done. That's it for the day, you guys. I think we went on a couple of different tangents there, since so much of this stuff is so interconnected, and we gotta give, we gotta highlight and really show you again the discrepancy and the differences between these good and bad things to show you just how bad and just how good this stuff is. But that, in essence, that is me and Sammy's take on the
best classes indeed.
Yeah, the best some of the best stuff. The Artificer Armourer, the Away of the Open Hand Monk, the Battle-Rager Barbarian, the Undying Warlock, and I guess also the Undead Warlock. There you go. You got an extra one there. You got two great ones. You got 2 absolute horrendous ones, and you got like 1 mid one. There you go. So it all balanced out at the end. Thank you guys so much. If you stuck around this far, we appreciate it. We love you guys. We hope that you enjoyed. Once again, please do like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Share the channel. We would love it. We'd appreciate it so much. It would help exponentially. Again, apologies for any kind of discrepancies, as well as the fact that me and Sammy are both sick at the moment. But we still just love and enjoy doing this so much and with each other that we push through the pain and
dude, this is like, if we did this 2 days ago, I would have been like, yeah, no.
I know, no, seriously, same. If we had done this yesterday, I would have been like, it's not happening, my man.
But here we are.
We
did it.
I do believe, there's been a couple of weeks where we had to like kind of skip a week due to like holidays, and just some other personal stuff that's been going on. But again, thank you all so much. We hope you enjoyed. We're gonna see you next time in the archive.
Thank you.
Bye.